Life is just better, so don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. It actually is Wednesday today, unlike yesterday when I thought it was Wednesday. But it's, well, if you want to get one more layer in this, the onion has many layers. It's actually for Rhino. Today is Thursday.
Today's Thursday, yeah.
Because Rhino's taking off Friday. So if I confused you, I'm sorry. But listen to the show, I don't know, at all, and I will eventually confuse you.
So it's actual Wednesday.
It's actual Wednesday. Yesterday I thought was Wednesday. Today's actual Wednesday, except for Rhino.
Which is Thursday.
It's Thursday.
You got it?
So anybody else who's taking Friday off, this is your Thursday.
That's
This
right.
is also
Yeah.
your Thursday. But for everybody else, it's actual Wednesday.
Actual
Correct.
Wednesday, correct. Yeah, that's
Yep.
right. See, that's why
This
Lowe's
is
is
good.
here.
This is good.
He is able to decipher my nonsense.
Yes. He's a
and
numbers guy.
Make it make sense.
He's the
That's right.
smart one.
That's right.
I just try and make it a point on a regular basis to go, logically, how do we get through the week?
Yes, I love that.
That's all.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do, too. I love that. It's funny. Rhino and I were just talking about Milton, and you said you saw where it was down to a Category 4, right, earlier?
Well, I saw it as a Category 4 yesterday. Then back up to a 5 last night, and then
so now
back down to a 3, I think.
Well, no, but that's the thing. I was watching Weather Channel in the other room, and they said 3. Fox News is saying 5.
Yeah, everybody else is saying 5.
I guess just split the difference and
It's
say
20
4.
miles an hour difference.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not.
135 is still a 3.
Yeah, it's bad.
145, 155 goes up to a 5. Regardless, it is going fast enough that you're going to get enough storm surge that when the numbers haven't changed to the Tampa area, they're talking about 10 to 15 feet of storm surge.
Yeah. And
it's brutal.
That is brutal and almost, scary as can be. And we don't know where the rest of the bands are going to be or what kind of water it's going to bring after the last storm. That's the scary part about this entire thing. And, yesterday, if you were traveling 75 north, you saw how many people have left Florida. Even yesterday, after I left the station at around 11 o'clock, I saw so many people from Florida and sat in traffic. And I usually don't sit in traffic on the way home. So, I'm glad that people are getting out there. That's the important part.
The scary thing is that they're, 70% of the gas stations in the Tampa area are out of gas. 70% because there's been such a run, there's been such a surge, trying to fill up and get out, and then you get on the interstate. And I guess Florida, by and large, Florida's down like 30%.
We made it a point when we were in Florida the last time around, before I went back to go ahead and do like a little bit of the cleanup. When we were there during our fall break for our girls in school, when we recognized that there might be a storm headed that way, the first thing was go to the gas station, go get gas. And no one was panicking. It wasn't like there was a bunch of people that were fueling up. But what happens is when you're in these major metropolitan areas, this is typical of what happens. You run out of gas in these areas because there's a huge run in order to get the fuel, in order to get out. Even our friend Stephanie had pointed out, there's somebody who went down there to get some cleanup done from Helene, and then they're not able to get out because they can't get fuel to get out.
Yeah, it's tough, man. You have everybody trying to fill up, knowing they're going to get on the interstate and knowing it's going to, be a good little ride, and obviously the infrastructure's not there for the run on gas. It's like paper towels and toilet paper at Costco.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not kidding, man, because I went in there last week.
Yeah.
None. Absolutely none. Costco, 0 toilet paper, 0 paper towels. And I asked the lady, I was like, do people not realize that, and she argued with me, this is funny. I was like, do they not realize that Georgia Pacific is here? And like, it's not, and she was like, yeah, but it's got to be shipped in. And I was like, no, it's here.
No, it's already in
She was like,
centers.
but the ports, you got to, and I was like, okay, never mind. I'm not even going to talk to you.
They don't come through the ports.
And then I just shut down and quit talking to her and just said, okay, thank you, okay. And she just kept trying to explain to me why the shipping was important for toilet paper.
The reality is, I would like to think that most people were buying it to send to victims of Hurricane Helene, but I know people better than that there was a lot of panic buying, and they were worried that they wouldn't be able to get any for themselves. And the ridiculous part about it is our products, when it comes to toilet paper, paper towels, things like that, it comes from here in the United States. It doesn't go through the port.
Well, specifically Georgia, too.
And you have Georgia Pacific, Louisiana Pacific, Pacific and all those that do paper. Clark.
Kimberly Clark.
Kimberly Clark's right here in Roswell. I mean, everything is done right here. So, yeah, it's a little silly.
It was so funny because, I mean, she was so on it. She was not letting it go, and I'd already shut down. I was like, just please let me check
know who
out.
she's voting for then.
Well, it's funny. I've seen one Harris Walls, yard signs. Yeah, tough word. In my neighborhood, and then I saw one just Trump with like the no smoking sign Trump, but that's the only signs I've seen whatsoever. And usually I can tell who they're going to vote for by whether they have an American flag out in front of their yard.
Well, that's easy.
You were able to see that lady who's sitting there holding all her cats.
Single cat lady.
But the dude that has the anti-Trump thing he's kind of just out of our driveway. There's another road, and you go down that road, and it's just off to the right. We call him Crazy Larry.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, when you drive by and wave to him, does he wave back with two hands and jump up and down? Or?
No, I don't. His name's, I'm not going to say his real name, but we call him Crazy Larry because he calls in bomb threats to his place of employment. We learned that about Crazy Larry when we moved into the neighborhood. Everybody was like, one person you avoid in the neighborhood is Crazy Larry. And so he has an anti-do not vote for Trump.
Well, the most adamant supporter of this entire administration, and even after Media Day yesterday, is still my uncle. And I'll just say this when it comes to those people that I follow on Facebook. Not exactly all the way there, but I mean that's what it takes in order to buy into all this stuff, right?
Yeah, crazy is in, man.
Like, you got to be a little bit nuts in order to be like, hey, this sounds like a great idea.
And Crazy Larry is, man. That's it's funny because as soon as I saw the sign, I was like, of course.
Yeah.
You're Crazy Larry.
You're Crazy Larry. That makes sense.
That's the reason you have that in your yard, yes.
I find it funny. I've seen a few, very rare in Cherokee County that you see any, but I did see a flag the other day. There were a few flags. There was a rainbow-colored flag, and then there was which I feel like they wasted their money on, Stop Project 2025. They made up idea of what a policy is, and they went and bought, probably a $50 flag.
I've actually started to lean into this. When the real nutballs on Twitter come at me, I'm just like, you know what? When we implement Project 2025 you're going away.
You're going away.
Like I'm now just playing.
Now you're just antagonizing. That's great.
I feel pretty good about where things are going, especially after yesterday when you have the Democrats that decided within the administration, let's march Kamala Harris out to a friendly and compliant media because why? She's got to be bleeding her own voters. Why would you put her on The View?
Because nobody.
Right? Why would you put her on Howard Stern?
Stephen Colbert.
Or Colbert, right. There's a point where you start asking the question, if you're trying to expose her to a different audience, well, then expose her to an audience that might say, I'm not really sure about this person. Maybe I'll go this direction. They put her in everywhere that already screamed leftist. Like Aunt Peg's entire TV schedule was Kamala Harris yesterday.
Oh, I know, and she loved it. She was rolling around, and it was great. But the topic that you brought up yesterday about her trying to inject herself into Florida and the hurricane response was priceless. And you brought it up, and I thought,
as a mistake.
As a mistake, absolutely. But then Joe Biden goes out there and does exactly opposite. He said the exact opposite
by the way,
what Kamala said.
Just so everybody knows. So Kamala Harris decided to get in front of the media. She got off her airplane, and she was complaining about how Ron DeSantis had not contacted her when it came to hurricane relief. And Ron DeSantis then within hours comes out and says, she's not part of the process. And so she does that. And so everyone's wondering, like, what's Joe Biden going to say?
Joe Biden said exactly what Ron DeSantis said.
The governor of Florida has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs. I talked to him again yesterday, and I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my personal phone number to call. So I don't know. There was a rough start in some places, but every governor from Florida to North Carolina has been fully cooperative and supportive and acknowledged what this team is doing, and they're doing an incredible job. But we got a lot more to do.
Kamala's mad because
he hates her.
he's not calling. Or DeSantis won't take her call, which DeSantis says she ain't trying to call anyway. But that's the thing. And Joe Biden comes out and says, I gave him my phone number. That's the greatest thing ever. Dude, talking about
Man, when Rhino says it, and it's not untrue, and we have talked about this, for as much as this was theory for a lot of people, it's not. He hates her, okay? His wife, Jill Biden, hates her.
Hates her.
This woman was on The View, which was supposed to be the single biggest one as far as her media appearances, as far as the largest audience. Mm-hmm. And he out of nowhere is like, yeah, I'm getting in front of the news media. I'm saying Ron DeSantis was right.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Why would you do that? Because he hates her.
But drill down to the point. Drill down. And if anybody had any doubt, their doubt should be gone, because it all came down to the phone call thing, right? That was the crux of Kamala's argument.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden says, I gave him my phone number. We've been talking. Dude, what a disrespectful slap in the face. Yes, he despises her, and he can't wait to say, I told you so. That's what he's waiting on.
Oh, when this is over, he's just, he'll dance like Tim Walsh, just dancing around there. Yeah, screaming and, just saying, hey, this is who she is. But the funny part is the Democrats, and you go, Victor Shi, who's one of the campaign people for Kamala Harris, this is what he wrote. This is the answer to your question, Carlos. They feel like 60 Minutes, 7 million viewers, Howard Stern, 10 million listeners, Call Her Daddy, second most popular podcast in America, Stephen Colbert, 2.7 million viewers. Mainstream media will not allow Kamala Harris to speak, so she has to go and do this.
Right.
Mainstream media will not allow her to speak. That's what it is.
What would you describe that as, that little list? Because that is as mainstream media as you can possibly get.
I mean, it's all mainstream media. That's CBS and everybody else. And then CBS, not only did they not allow her to speak, they edited it to make her sound better. I mean, this is exactly the mainstream media that she has avoided, too. She avoids the mainstream media, especially the hard outlets. She doesn't want to answer questions. She's going on variety shows. She might as well go on Hee Haw.
We'll get into the audio later.
I hope she
no, never mind. She wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
She don't like white people.
Say Hee Haw. I mean, let's face it. You got to be pretty legit to be on Hee Haw.
Yeah, right. They're not letting her on there.
But no, this is yesterday, and this is the stupidity of what occurs in my own brain. I made it a point, because I've had for forever on my ex bio. It basically points out the comedy of Joe Biden, where it's, he would read the prompter and he would say, repeat the line. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I thought in my mind, Kamala Harris put out such a word salad talking about Bibi and talking about Israel.
And not calling him an ally. Yeah.
So yesterday I went to go try and find the transcript. And I went to CBS.com. I went all over the place. And I went, hold on a second. Why is the transcript? I was like,
that's not what was said.
That's not what was said.
We played the audio yesterday.
So the fact that we are now in the 1984 moment of real propaganda is where you give people the facts that you want them to know about.
Sure.
That you want, that it's the epitome of it. That's where we're at, where the news media has done everything they can for 48 hours, and she's still Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I don't think it's moving the needle.
But she promises you more of the same. That's what
she said on The View, right?
That's exactly what she said on The View.
Record high inflation,
right?
Interest rates,
everything that you despise about what's happening in America. She says, "Yeah, we're gonna continue that."
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
So you're trying to separate yourself from Joe Biden, saying that you're different. A new way forward, right? Isn't that her?
Right.
Isn't that the campaign?
What did we hear from Tim Walz's wife? We're going to turn the page.
Turn the page. New way forward.
It's just the next page of the same book.
That's exactly right. It's page. If you're on 7, we're going to page 8. And then if you're on 8, we're going to page 9. And it is all going to be the same.
How does she sound like she's not prepared for a question like that?
It doesn't make sense.
Well, here's across.
If you're running for the highest office in the land, you don't need your staff to prepare you for that question. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
And if it's not on The View, it's going to come up at some point. You've got to have a solid answer. Well, there's all kinds of things that I feel like we've done well. However, we would have done that. I would have made sure that the whomever did whatever to make it everything better. Like, give me some answer.
Yeah.
But she couldn't because she had nothing.
Well, yeah. I mean, she has nothing but lies, really, or just misinformation or distraction. More than anything else, it's distraction. She said on Howard Stern that the one thing that you need to look at when it comes to Donald Trump is he will never protect the sovereignty of another nation.
Right.
Another nation, you won't even protect the sovereignty of this nation. And that's the disinformation. That's what she wants to do, is she wants to pretend and deflect, because they know if you actually look into anything that the Biden administration has done, which is now the Harris administration, because that's what it is. You're running as the incumbent for your policies. You have no policies. You have no issues. You're going on and you're talking about Formula One racing and other things that you do not have to talk about actual issues or policy. The one thing she brought up just says, hey, we're going to add so much debt to the American government by trying to redo Medicare and Social Security, when the report from the CBO just came out that they spent a record amount of money over the past years. What they've done is printed it all.
Politics is not difficult. You are allowed to jump off the political page as long as, when you're asked the political question, you give a nice polished answer. And then at that point, if you're Barack Obama and you want to talk about what your Final Four is going to be, and here's my upcoming bracket, well, it's because for the first 15 minutes, you answered all the political questions, and now we can talk about whatever we want to. The problem for Harris is that she can't get through the political questions in a polished manner. She just can't get through it to it. So by the time that she starts talking about other things that are extemporaneous, everyone just goes, I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention to you anymore. You come across as a crazy person.
I'm still stewing on the first few answers that you couldn't complete. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about when it comes to the Final Four, because I can't focus on that. I'm focused on everything that is happening in America and how you wouldn't change a bit of it.
And by the way, partly is they put her on these shows where America's supposed to fall in love with you because you're not just talking about politics. But when you can't take care of the political end, everything else goes to crap.
When we come back on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3, FEMA is a miserable failure, and it has spent $4 billion in the last month on non-emergencies, and you will not believe which one takes the center of the page. Next on Extra 106.3, Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's a camera. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Another assassin tried to kill the former president. Why 2 attempts in the last couple of months? Well, could it possibly be because of the way Donald Trump's opponents and his media arm are talking about him?
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Oh, yeah. We are coming to the home stretch of 2024. Can you believe it's October and Halloween is a few weeks away? And once you hit Halloween, it is the free fall to the end of the year with all the holidays. I mean, it's great. It's a great time of year. I love it. But the folks at Central Heating and Air Conditioning want just to thank you for trusting them with your heating and air needs, home performance needs, all throughout the year. And you can save right now $2,000 in carrier rebates with the best in the business, working with the best of the business at Central Heating and Air Conditioning. You're guaranteed to get the best deals possible. Why is Central the best? Well, they're one of the few locally owned HVAC companies in Atlanta. With Central, you're not just a number, you're a member of the family, and they've been serving the Atlanta family since 1947. I mean, 70 plus years. Goodness gracious. So many companies have sold out. They still use that local name, but they're not a local company anymore. Central Heating and Air Conditioning, Chuck and his team, they are. They can fix what ails your house with a whole bunch of really neat ways, especially if you have allergies. And this time of year, it's tough with allergies, and it's about to get worse. Heating and air conditioning, of course, but what about home ventilation, air quality products designed around your health, variable speed, fresh air ventilation, air cleaners, air purifiers, dehumidifiers, and so much more. So if you need heating and air maintenance, replacement, or you want to get the the air in your house even more healthy. Call Central Heating and Air Conditioning now at 770-GET-HEAT or go to centralheat.com.
I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but the cold air is coming fast. That means a couple different things to me and you. Energy bills will be rising and company coming over for the holidays. Dan Watkins here with all Four Seasons garage, entry doors, and windows. It's time to get your house ready for the winter air and your holiday visitors. The good news is that we have you covered for every opening in your home. So call us today to set up a free estimate with one of our amazing sales consultants. They'll help you pick out the perfect garage door, front door, and windows for your home.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Real Success. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at ourrealsuccess.com.
Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses and acquiring rental properties right here in Atlanta? We're offering a handful of motivated individuals the opportunity to attend our workshop right here in Atlanta for free. That's right. We'll give you 2 free tickets when you text FREE to 64,000. Atlanta is the perfect market to flip houses and build rental income. Discover the simple steps developed by Joe Arias, one of real estate's greatest rags to riches stories. You'll learn to flip properties and secure rental properties without using your own money and in your spare time. Don't miss this opportunity. Come to a complimentary live 2-hour workshop next week right here in Atlanta and learn how to start making money flipping homes and building long-term wealth with rental properties. To get 2 free tickets, text FREE to 64,000. Text in the next 10 minutes, and registrants will also receive a free copy of our Funding for Deals guide. Text FREE to 64,000 for 2 complimentary tickets. Text FREE to 64,000.
Years ago, when I first started to feel pain in my hands and my joints, I did what most people did. I masked them, to feel better for a few hours, only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again. Not until about a decade later did I understand that there's a better way. It's called Relief Factor. The good news is, for you, that you don't have to mask your pain anymore. Relief Factor makes it easy to get rid of the pain completely and naturally. Now, they have a 3-week quick start. It's $19.95. For less than $1 a day, instead of masking the pain, try Relief Factor. Well, it's a unique formula of ingredients that helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors, and it's 100% drug-free. And right now, their 3-week quick start is $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com. Call 800-4RELIEF. That's 800-4RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask the pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Wednesday, October 9th. After disappearing in September, former Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade is set to testify in front of the House Judiciary Committee. The panel is expected to investigate Wade's romantic relationship with Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis. Wade will sit before the committee in a closed-door session on October 15th. Rockdale County Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor Kenny Johnson collapsed after delivering testimony during the biolab chemical fire public hearing. Johnson, who complained of shortness of breath, collapsed in the hallway and was rushed to Grady Memorial Hospital after State Representative Viola Davis administered CPR. Johnson passed away at the hospital. He was 62 years old. And in sports, University of Georgia wide receiver Colby Young was arrested for battery and assaulting an unborn child. The arrest report alleges that Young grabbed his pregnant ex-girlfriend during an argument as she tried to leave his apartment. Young was booked in a Clark County jail at 4:18 a.m. and remains in custody on a $2,500 bond.
I haven't spent a penny on COVID. Maybe ever that I can think of. I don't think I've ever spent a penny on COVID. But right now, in case you wanted to, you could go to covidtest.gov and get your 4 free COVID-19 tests. They're still doing this.
Oh, good.
I mean, because everybody's so concerned.
Excellent.
At this point. It's good, right? That the government and the state government, federal government, they're all looking so hard at COVID and making sure that people don't struggle with it. I can't tell you
Got
the last
any
time.
Vaccines or boosters I need to know about?
Maybe, hopefully soon.
Me and Neil can go grab some.
I hope so. But that's the thing, like, I don't know that many people have really thought about COVID, because I say all this in jest, of course. I don't know, Los, that people have thought about COVID testing or spending money on COVID in the last, 2, maybe even 3. Most of us not at all, but at least the majority of people in the last 2 or 3 years.
Let me tell you what these crooks are doing. They're raiding the piggy bank. They're taking your money and they're spending it on their own pet projects. And I'll give you the example. So FEMA had to declare what their monthly spending has been and what they've been spending the money on. So, for instance, if you go to their financial records, you'll find last month in September, there was $26 million that was spent on earthquakes that occurred in the last year. There was $5 million spent on the California wildfires from 4 years ago. Even Hurricane Ida had $207 million that was doled out in spending last month. COVID, they spent $4 billion last month on. $4 billion in COVID spending last month. Now, again, this is Libs of TikTok ended up having the document that's on here, but it's public record. You can go look at their financial statements. It's government. It's free to look at. $4 billion. You can say, what did they use that on? They used it on something that they decided to call COVID.
Right.
Sure. Because you're not spending $5 million on California wildfires from 4 years ago and $4 billion last month on a non-existent pandemic.
Ah, man, this is the sickness of what they do. So every time they call a national emergency for something, whether it's a climate emergency or a COVID emergency, that's when they come up with these grants. That's what they are. So when you look at what FEMA has done and broken it down, there was a report from 2024 where they started looking because they actually had the inspector general. They talked about the fact that they had $73 billion in unliquidated funds that remained open. So what they say is, for instance, they've still got $7 billion in grants that are open for Hurricane Sandy, right?
An account.
Yeah, and they're saying, hey, okay, these are grants. But when you look at what those grants are for, okay, it's what we talked about, Daniel, and his little scam about being a climate scientist. Yeah. Those are the grants, because their idea is you don't need help. What you need is somebody to investigate why these things are happening. That's where a lot of these grants go. But when then you look at not only COVID, $1.1 billion in shelter and aid for illegals. I mean, it's all in the paperwork, like Carlos said.
Yeah, FEMA is not just a disaster organization, even though that's supposed to be their main cause, their main reason for existing. But if you look at all the numbers, which we've brought up a bunch of times, they're using money, your money, under a lot of different guises that have nothing to do with disaster.
$47 million, again, $47 million on the Hawaii wildfires. $4 billion on COVID last month.
They're funneling it somewhere.
Where is that? What did they decide to call COVID? No, whether they're spending it, but what are they calling a COVID emergency?
Yeah, what is undercover?
What are they using as a COVID emergency so that nobody looks at it and says, oh, well, it's COVID, $4 billion, no problem.
So we're looking at 12 years ago with Sandy. They're holding on to $7 billion instead of allowing these people who are struggling right now to get their lives back together or getting the help that they need. They're saying, well, we got to hold this just in case somebody comes out, 12 years later and says, hey, I'm still not able to live. That's how ridiculous this idea is with our taxpayer money. We should have insight. We should be able to say, hey, that $7 billion, if they need to come back for it later, Sandy, they could come back for it later. They're not coming for it now. Let's give it to the people that need it now. Let's start taking care of the people in this country. You gave $1.1 billion for shelter and aid of illegal aliens. That's just the one small number that we found. There's a lot more in there for them, by the way. This is something that we need to be taking care of America first. I think Republicans need to jump on this and talk about this. This is the October surprise that they need to keep talking about.
Hurricane Ida, $207 million in spending from the federal government from FEMA last month. Hurricane Ian, $440 million last month. $4 billion for COVID.
I just did a quick Google search. Said, how much does New York City need for undocumented immigrants? You know what that number is? $4.7 billion.
Wow.
I'm not saying they're the same thing,
wow.
But we know that FEMA is funneling money to support these major cities.
These projects.
And projects for illegal immigrants.
And calling it COVID emergency.
And dude, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm not saying that is what is happening. However, it would not surprise me. They're doing something. That might not be it, but they're doing something.
The money was spent. Okay, according to their books, the money was spent, and it was under the guise of COVID-19.
Yeah.
Now, this is September of 2024. tell me where that money actually went. Because it was spent.
Yeah.
What did it go to? Because it didn't go to COVID emergency.
No, of course, because there is no emergency.
How do you spend, when you're spending $200 million last month on hurricane relief in different states, and yet you spent $4 billion last month, and you can't tell me what exactly it went to? Just under the guise
Well,
of
they know they're not.
COVID.
Yeah, they know they're not. Look, California, just 8 hours ago last night, they announced that they're voting on Prop 2 and Prop 4. And what does that mean for the people? $10 billion bonds that the people are being asked to front for climate emergencies, research into COVID, research into other things. This is what they do. You said it earlier. California is the breeding ground for stealing money from the taxpayers. If you don't think Kamala Harris is looking at what Gavin Newsom is doing, or the higher-ups above them are saying, this is what we're going to start here, we're going to try to implement it in every state in the country, $10 billion bonds the taxpayers are paying for.
That's where they want to be, for sure. When Peter Doocy asked about giving money to foreign governments like Lebanon, $157 billion, this extraordinary amount of money. Yet, the president and vice president say that Congress, the House and the Senate, needs to come together, come back, and vote on more money for the folks that have been suffering because of Hurricane Helene. Peter Doocy was brave enough to point that out, and he was like, well, why? Why can you approve money for Lebanon, but you have to reconvene to approve money for the folks that have been ravaged by a hurricane? And Karine Jean-Pierre calls his statement, his question, misinformation.
But instead, people want to do disinformation, misinformation, which is dangerous. Because then when folks on the ground hear that, they may not want to ask for the help that they need. That is there for them. That's our focus here.
But President Biden is fond of saying, show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for
His
people
values,
in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir. What you do? Yes, it's misinformation.
Is there money to
I just mentioned
right now?
I just mentioned to you that we provided more than $200 million to folks who are impacted in the area, and I just shared with you that people are deciding not to.
To Congress that there's not enough money to help people in North Carolina.
We're talking about the SBA disaster loan.
That's money for people in North Carolina.
And that's important, and people in North Carolina need that. Wait, this is nothing new. Peter, this is nothing new.
And then they continue on and on and on. Because she gets so ticked off, Rhino, that she literally slams the binder with all of her answers in it and walks out the door, because she got called on the carpet and she has no answer for it.
Well, the reality of it is this, the long and short of it. He didn't ask for Congress to approve $157 million for Lebanon. But now he's saying if you want to get the SBA disaster loan, then Congress needs to go ahead and vote it in. No. You should have them vote on Lebanon and whether or not we're going to fund that, not the American people.
That's right.
That's the whole thing. And she doesn't want that coming out. She doesn't want the media to focus on the fact that they are holding up $200 million because they want to play politics. That's the reality of it.
It's frustrating when you recognize that these have already been authorized as slush funds, essentially what it becomes. And so when you hear about this slush fund money that's headed to these foreign areas where there's war ravage or they need material or wherever it is, and yet that money is not being looked at to help you, that's the frustration part. And so when
it should be,
when you have a guy like Peter Doocy bringing that up, and she's automatically, she's at this point, she's moonwalking out of there. And she's trying to get done with that question.
She's repeating herself every other word she repeats because she's trying to figure out. That's a mechanism to try to figure out how to get out of this conversation.
It's because it's impossible to explain why Lebanon needs this money more than Lebanon, North Carolina.
That's exactly right.
It's a true story.
And she's got no answer. There is no answer. Rhino hit the nail on the head.
She has the answer. She can't tell you the answer.
Yeah, well, yes.
That's the reality of it.
Her job is to spin.
To not tell you the answer. Yeah. But isn't it crazy, though? This should be alarming to every American that only Peter Doocy is brave enough to pin her down.
Yeah.
To ask her questions. Everybody else sitting on their hands.
Yep.
Nobody else is asking any tough questions. Everybody else just giving a pass. And Peter Doocy, God bless him, is brave enough to say, what you're saying is nonsense, and I know it. And then she throws back, oh, it's misinformation. You should have seen Doocy's face. Like, if he could have killed her with a look, she'd be dead on the floor.
I think that when you have someone call whatever you're bringing up misinformation, no, you're over the target, baby.
That's exactly, yeah.
That's
right.
That's become their deflector shield of, well, that's misinformation. That's malinformation. No, sorry, that's probably good information that the public needs.
Yeah, again, we shouldn't have to call Congress back to approve $200 million to be sent to the SBA. We shouldn't have to call them back to do anything for the people that are American people, that are citizens that need help in these times, when we're going ahead and just saying, you know what, let's not call Congress back to send money to somebody else that doesn't need it. People who are not American citizens, people who don't pay into the system. Karine Jean-Pierre and the Democrats are playing a game because they know that, or they think that, and because I don't believe Republicans would vote against this, but they think they'd play politics with it as well, and it would become a whole storm in Congress, and maybe that's a way they can win seats. But the reality is, they should never have to call Congress back to give money to the American people that they paid.
Rhino, that's misinformation.
I know, disinformation, misinformation. That's their new game.
Just call anything they don't agree with.
Anything that's true.
Anything that's true. Anything that they don't want to talk about. It's misinformation, disinformation.
I mean, this all started in my mind with COVID and the Biden laptop.
Yeah, right.
All misinformation.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never even heard that term until 2020.
A man can't get pregnant. That's misinformation. You can't put that on the internet. That's not misinformation, but okay.
That's right. Morning Extra and Extra 106.3. When we come back, Kamala joined Howard Stern for a softball interview and could not articulate her policy positions or even say the word. Next on the Morning Extra. We're on until 10.
The left-wing media is pushing counterfeit polls and bogus headlines, all while ignoring the stories that matter most. Trust the conservative voice of Atlanta for the real truth without the media spin. The Morning Extra, Glenn Beck, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton, The Kimmer Show, Jesse Kelly, and the voices you need most are all on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
It's going to be an interesting couple of months right here on Extra 106.3.
Hi, this is Ben.
And I'm Walt from Horizon Background Screening. About 15 years ago, I was running a private investigations company, and my partner Ben here was running a background screening company and saw the need to put the two together. The background screening helps employers, churches, volunteer organizations, and those sorts of things to help find the right people, get those right people in place, and screen out people that would be a hindrance to their company. On the other end, the investigative work, we can help companies, individuals, insurance companies, law firms gather information, a lot of times around lawsuits and other legal work like that, but also helping people when they're going through a divorce or going through other hard things in life.
25 plus years, we've just been blessed with growth and have basically become a nationwide provider of both pre-employment background checks and private investigative services.
The best way for people to find us is on our website. A quick Google search of Horizon Background Screening, or look at us at horizonscreening.com.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
Longing for thick, healthy, gorgeous hair? Say goodbye to shedding, thin, and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume from New Nordic.
Neil Borch here. Maybe you've already taken the steps to improve your health, maybe save your life. You're using a CPAP for your sleep apnea. I've been using one for well over 20 years. So right now I'm here to tell you about a source for CPAPs and CPAP supplies here in the Atlanta area. CPAPs, etc. They're in Alpharetta. They have whatever you need. Roddy and Sharon are your CPAP experts, and they'll ship nationwide. More information, CPAPs.com.
My name is Jamie High, and I have worked for Bruce Hagen for 14 years. Why do I work for Bruce? Because he truly cares. He cares about me, he cares about my family, and he cares about each and every one of his clients. Family is important to him, and he never makes me choose between my family and work. He values me as an employee, but also as a person. At our firm, we are all family, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I am Jamie, and I've worked for Bruce Hagen for 14 years because he's the best. Hagen-law.com.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 4 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffer from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. There are lots of competitors that don't have the credentials that I have. When you go to other clinics, you're not going to see a board-certified physician with the experience that I have. When you come to our clinic, you're going to see me. There's just not one therapy that can solve these complex issues. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. Total Body Therapy of Georgia, 404-777-1911, 404-777-1911, online at stopmyed.com.
It's October 9th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is World Post Day. It celebrates postal services. The Universal Postal Union began in 1874 when it was established by the Treaty of Berne to help establish postal policies. Also on this day, in 1992, a meteorite crashes into a Chevy Malibu in Peekskill, New York. It looked like an ordinary bowling ball-sized rock. It was extremely heavy for its size. It weighed about 28 pounds. Dying on this day in 1974, Oskar Schindler, credited with saving 1,200 Jews during the Holocaust. Steven Spielberg directed and produced the movie Schindler's List. It won 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Born on this day in 1940, one of the legends in music history, co-founder of the Beatles, John Lennon. I'm CJ Papa, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Your voice, your vote. And this year it matters more than ever. So for the unbiased election coverage that affects your family and your community, trust the voices that matter when it matters the most. Xtra 106.3 and the Xtra app.
Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Xtra at Xtra 106.3. Download the app so you can listen live and on demand. So Kamala on The View asked, would you do anything different? And she said, no, do everything the exact same way. We want to keep the status quo. We want to do exactly what we're doing now. And then Stephen Colbert gave her the opportunity to answer the question. Would you do anything differently? And then she rambled on and said, I'm not Trump. That's pretty much the answer that she gave.
You know what's funny is if you didn't realize that they hand all these people the questions, maybe you do after watching all 3 of those interviews because they were all the same exact canned answers. They were all the same exact canned questions as well. And then she had a beer with Stephen Colbert, just to...
Yeah,
that's
Miller.
Yeah, look, Kamala Harris did what she could to bring back some of the people in her own party. That's the only reason I, agree with Carlos on that when he says, she's got to be having to work for them because there's no way that this gains any traction into the people who were not going to vote for her or are undecided at this point.
Well, you don't go on The View looking to land me. Okay?
Yeah, because you ain't watching The View.
You can go on The View looking to grab the problem she has are 9-to-5 American men. Guys that have regular jobs, regular work, and they don't have time to watch The View. They're not at home watching The View. That's what she went to, was to try and secure her own audience. And again, I just find it very strange that she had to go to a multitude of all very friendly audiences, very friendly interviews, to try and secure her own vote. You got to have a problem with your campaign at that point.
Of course. Well, there's lots of problems with it. But then she goes on to Howard Stern. And everybody talks about how she can't articulate her policy positions. So Howard sets her up. And she talks about articulating, except she can't say the word.
I think that, Howard, people ask me, what do you think is going on and what is the tension here? What's at stake? And there are many things, and I can be much more articulate
than what I'm going to say. But ultimately, I do believe that this is an election that is about strength versus weakness.
Yeah.
And weakness as projected by someone who puts himself in front of the American people.
Oh, you know what? Let's just bail out here, because the funny part is the fact that she is so focused on being able to articulate her points that she stumbled on it because she's so nervous about being able to articulate it. When you're trying to articulate your point, you don't tell people, hey, I'm going to articulate here.
This is supposed to be a situation where you rub your hands together as a politician. You're like, I'm going to be in front of about 1 million people, and here's how I'm going to dominate. And she looked like it was dental work yesterday. Like, oh my God, I got to do this, and everyone's going to realize I'm an imposter.
She is an imposter, and she knows that too, I think. You know, I mean, based on what she is talking about and the way she talks, absolutely, she's an imposter. But I think it's funny that she called Donald Trump weak when Vladimir Putin says, I endorse Kamala Harris. That tells you right there who world leaders think are weak. The weakness in this is really somebody who has no policy, no ideas, no path forward. I know she says she has a path forward. There is no path forward with her. The path forward is the same as the past 4 years. You admitted that you wouldn't change anything. So what you're saying to the American people in this is that, yes, you're going to deal with even higher inflation. You're going to deal with higher interest rates. You're going to deal with more debt. You're going to deal with higher prices, because every policy that I have tried to put out there, even though I have no plan behind them, then guess what? This is going to cost you and add money to the deficit. That's all she's doing right now. She is hoping that this joy, this happiness, these friendly interviews are going to get her somewhere. But again, the only people are listening or watching these shows are the same exact people who are already voting for her. She didn't gain any numbers. It doesn't matter if 100 million people watched it yesterday.
But I think that's the point, Los, is the fact that if you can't get it right in front of the friendly interviews, of course you're not going to go do the hard ones. Can you imagine the horror that her staff had watching this? Now, we watched it, and we took a little bit of joy in it. We laughed
kind of rubbed my hands together all day.
A little bit, because you're like, oh, man, she can't even get her. But those people are hired to help her get elected, right? And I'm sure they believe in the same things, whatever she believes in, because she can't articulate that very well. But that's the thing. If you put her in front of anything that is above the View, can you imagine the historic failure? If you fail this bad on The View, how bad do you fail on she's never going on Fox News, ever. And they would be fair to her, I believe.
I kind of felt like I was watching a football team, because we're in football season, so make it about football.
Okay.
Where it's coached by Bill Belichick. It has Bill Polian as the general manager. It has all the best players and all the best support staff. And the quarterback is a dud.
Yeah.
Like that's what it felt like. She's surrounded by this amazing machine that the Democrat Party, what they're able to do, if they're able to pull this off, then it really doesn't matter what kind of candidate you have that marches out there anymore. Like at that point, the idea of like, who is this person? Are they likable? Okay. 70 days, they ran her. If she wins, it's because the Democrat machine is what it is. But I don't believe she's going to, in part because everything around her is so good, and she sucks.
Yeah. I think they knew that, though. I really, look, I'm going to go back.
Know it, right?
I know Joe knew it.
Joe knew it. Everybody knew it. But the fact of the matter is this. They knew that if they were to sack the first female black vice president in this race, they would lose all momentum with that entire group. I truly believe that. So they were stuck with her. But this is a way to get her out. Throw her out there. And I kind of disagree about her staff being embarrassed. If her staff was embarrassed, they would have changed her speech from the minute that she walked on the stage till now. They haven't changed her speech. No, of course not. But I don't think they're embarrassed. I think they think this is great. I think they think this is working.
I think they know it.
Well, I know what you think.
Bad.
I just, if they really thought that, they would change up some of the ways that she says things.
It wouldn't
Nothing
matter.
has changed.
She couldn't get it right, even if they did change.
And that's the point about when I say you have a quarterback who's a dud.
Yeah.
Like everything else is right. You have a quarterback who's a dud. And now let's point this out, because this is also from Howard Stern. You want to talk about falling back on the same tropes, the same stuff where even, thank you for community notes on X, that immediately was, yeah, that's not correct. Take a listen to Kamala Harris. She's on Stern. They're going to talk about what's going on in the world. And when it comes to, who to blame with all this stuff, she's going to go right back to the same tired talking points that attacked Donald Trump.
to your point, doesn't support our friend Ukraine, doesn't support, therefore, something America should always, and has always, by the way, been a champion of, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity, which means the importance of standing against anyone who tries to take another nation by force.
Right.
That's what we stand for as Americans, that you don't do that. And if you do that to our friends, we're going to stand with our friends. You're getting played. And some would say, look, I grew up in the neighborhood. Some would say you're getting punked.
Yeah.
If you stand in favor of somebody who's an adversary over your friends on principles that we all agree on. And you look at it, it's not only that. He says he's going to be a dictator on day one. Understand what dictators do. They jail journalists. They put people who are protesting in the street in jail.
He said he thinks he wants to go after Jimmy Kimmel, a comedian. He wants to go after Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers. Even if someone had said years ago when I remember presidential races, if someone said, "Oh, Kamala Harris isn't a black woman," they would have been out of the. That would have been it. Would have been over. I mean, how do you challenge that? What do you do with that?
Ask Janet Jackson. That'd be the first thing I'd ask.
That's the neighborhood.
These are two crazy old ladies sitting around talking is what it was.
It was two crazy old fraus.
Well, going back, though, to what she said about we defend our friends. Like, we don't let nations
unless
be
they're
invaded.
American.
Exactly. But to the point that she was trying to make, talking about Ukraine, we didn't do anything in 2014 when Russia went and got Crimea. We didn't. We did nothing. That wasn't. I don't remember anything.
And then when we helped install the new Ukrainian government, we went with the pro-Nazi group.
Yes.
Doesn't that feel a little bit strange?
But again, she talks about defending the sovereignty and the nation's borders of other countries, but won't do it here on ourselves. When she talks about defending our friends, she's not defending the American people against the invasion that we face every single day. We're talking about over 300,000 Americans that are dead because of her policies on the border. She's not defending the sovereignty of our country.
Oh, and it's a good thing that on 60 Minutes, and by the way, that was the tough interview.
Yeah.
When do you want to scale back some stuff you've done on the border? And she was just spinning the wheels over and over again. Yeah. Yesterday was a fun day if you are I would say this. If you're looking for Kamala Harris to look foolish, yesterday was perfect for you.
Man, you had a lot of opportunities to see it. It was on display. It was under a spotlight for sure. The local leftist newspaper is mad at Trump for coming to Atlanta, but not helping Kamala Harris while he's here. We'll do that after the Fox News update. Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. The Kimmer Show is only on Extra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home.
If she wins, it's the United States. It's the end of what we knew it as, what we grew up in.
We're not going to take it.
Because there's 100 million of us that won't live under that. What she's going to try and do, we're not going to live under that. There will have to be a partition at some point if she wins, because no one's going to live under that.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
You know the old expression, I love it when a plan comes together? Well, with our First Liberty Notes, this has been so true. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about our family's company all the time right here on the station. For over 30 years, we've been the local lender who said yes when the big banks say no. A couple of months ago, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Folks from airline pilots to physicians to even pastors are now earning 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of local small businesses. If you're a qualified investor with a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty Notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty Notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. SEC accredited investor status must be verified. Securities not offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Hey, it's
it's Mike with Atlanta Painting Company. In this fall, we invite you to transform your home. Our expert team brings color to life with top quality paints and flawless finishes, and leading the industry with our color consultants. Whether it's a fresh coat of paint for one room or an entire exterior makeover, the Atlanta Painting Company has you covered. So, trust the local pros for reliable, professional service when you need to revive your home or business. Find us at atlantapaintingcompany.com or call us at 1-800-PAINTING. That's atlantapaintingcompany.com. The Atlanta Painting Company, the painters you can trust.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data: unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. Stop overpaying for data you will never use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword Pure Talk. Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will make switching easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Dial pound 250 and say Pure Talk, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. Congress will have to approve another batch of money for FEMA in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. FEMA has money to tackle Helene, but the severity of the storm is bleeding FEMA's coffers. That worries Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, who says FEMA lacks money to make it through the end of the hurricane season, November 30th. While Congress was expected to reload FEMA just before Christmas, it may need to pass a bill as soon as lawmakers return to Washington in mid-November, plus do another bill to handle the rest of the damage from Helene and address additional natural disasters. The price tag for Helene could be massive, but some lawmakers believe the storm gives Congress an opportunity to recalibrate priorities and not spend money overseas or on programs to help communities cope with illegal immigrants. But despite some Republicans saying FEMA lacks the money because it's dealing with the border crisis, DHS says it was, quote, false. The agency diverted hurricane money. The White House accused Republicans of using the storm to divide people before the election. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
Milton is still a Category 5 monster. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The hurricane packs 160-mile-an-hour max winds.
Don't, focus on the number. 5, 4, even a strong 3. The storm surge is going to remain the same. The energy with the storm is actually going to expand and affect a lot more real estate.
Fox meteorologist Janice Dean, Milton barreling toward Florida's west coast. A lot of people have evacuated, leaving many gas stations empty from the Fort Myers area up to the Tampa region. Fox's Evan Brown reports.
Tampa Bay might get nearly 15 feet of storm surge courtesy of Hurricane Milton, but a slightly more southward move means the Sarasota area could get it instead. Fred Shue's home in Siesta Key already got flooded with a few feet of water during Hurricane Helene. He is not staying.
This tree may fall and squish the house. So there may be nothing, or it just may end up, I think best case scenario is 5 to 6 to 8 feet of water inside.
The storm could hit tonight into tomorrow. An Afghan national busted 4 weeks before the election in Oklahoma.
27-year-old Nasir Tawhidi obtained weapons and ammunition to launch this attack, according to the FBI. He arrived in the U.S. in September 2021, days after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan was completed. The Justice Department says, quote, Tawhidi allegedly indicated that his attack was planned for Election Day.
That's Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. Vice President Harris had high-profile media interviews. Asked on The View on ABC if she'd have done anything different than President Biden.
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Former President Trump will hold a rally tonight in Pennsylvania. An icon is gone in Las Vegas. It was about an hour and a half ago when they imploded the Tropicana, a hotel that opened 67 years ago, brought down in seconds, leaving a giant plume of dust. They plan to build a Major League Baseball stadium there. America's listening.
If your approach to everyday aches and pains is to mask them, feel better for a few hours only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again, it's time to try Relief Factor. And the good news is Relief Factor makes that easy. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it. How? Well, its unique formula of ingredients helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors. It's 100% drug-free, and for so many people, the results are game-changing, even life-changing. So give it a try. Right now, their 3-week quick start is just $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
No need for traffic updates. We always steer you right. It's the Morning Extra on 106.3.
Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10 on Extra 106.3. Milton will slam Florida as a major hurricane. Obviously, that is going to be the focus of most of the media attention today, and rightfully so. Those folks down there have taken a beating and look like they're going to take another. Certainly keep them in your thoughts and prayers. My fear, y'all, is that as soon as this hurricane hits, and it's going to be devastating, we know that. Lots and lots of folks have evacuated, which is encouraging. But the folks up in Appalachia, the folks that are suffering right now from Hurricane Helene will be forgotten about. They're going to be the second fiddle. It is going to be the new storm that is the focus, and that's my fear, is that those people are left out again.
I hope not. I
do too.
I feel like the Concert for Carolina and what some of the true patriots in this country are doing to help those that are suffering in North Carolina, Georgia, and parts of Florida will continue on that mission, and they may expand it if this continues to be as bad as it looks. And it looks really bad right now, and I'm glad that people are getting out. But I'm hoping that because they are this close together, people come together and actually add more and do what they can to help.
Things are so bad, things are so memory hold, you can't get an accurate count on how many people that have actually perished from that storm.
Right.
You just don't know. You just get reports of here's what's going on in South Georgia, here's what's going on in Tennessee, here's what's going on in North Carolina. And everywhere it's always, hey, it's so much worse than the media is telling you.
Right.
All right, what happens when this next storm rolls in? Well, now there's no attention on how bad things are.
That's my whole point, is that it is going to be a lost cause. Those people have been treated as second-class citizens already to the people of Ukraine and Lebanon, for heaven's sakes. And then you start throwing in a new hurricane, and it's just, unfortunately, the news cycle works as it does. And the new focus becomes that, and again, they're forgotten and left out. That's my fear.
Look, I think it's a very valid fear, because the reality of it is they told us they didn't have enough money to help with the people in North Carolina. Now you're going to add a lot more, and we already know what they've done with this. And good for Peter Ducey, by the way, going out in front of the West Wing, and doing a Fox News report and showing all the receipts he had. I was like, that's exactly why we love him.
We need to pull that. We'll see if we can get that audio for that.
That's great audio. But the reality of it is this. They sent money everywhere else. They took care of illegal aliens. They took care of, when Kamala Harris says about the sovereignty and protecting your friends, she hasn't done that. No, they did whatever they could to send money to other places and took care of others rather than taking care of the American people, and now it's catching up. The reason the gas prices are high, we talked about it. Politically, they have been doing one thing, trying to win something, which is power. And they're going to continue to do that. They emptied the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. They sent our money to other countries, including Lebanon. They sent money to illegals. They have nothing here for the American people. You know why? Because they're trying to bring in new votes. And that's the replacement theory. It's not about black, brown, gay, straight, whatever it may be. It's about gaining power, and that's all they care about.
It's about right or wrong, in my view, and we'll talk about that a little later in the show, is the fact that it's no longer left and right. It's no longer Republican and Democrat. It is strictly right and wrong. And that's how I see it. And I can't imagine seeing it any other way. Give me something that'll convince me. I'm happy to listen. I just don't know that it's going to matter.
Well, it's problematic that when it comes to the worldview for Aunt Peg, the idea of what is right and wrong for her is so skewed now.
Yeah, that's true. And for such a logical, lovely, a caring woman, a loving woman. And I think that's probably part of it is that
definitely part of it.
They play on those emotions,
And
right?
they target it. Well,
absolutely.
But
I think they do.
Ideology has her and kids on campus rooting for terrorism.
Dude, it's hard to imagine that is happening in America, and it is.
But if you trusted somebody in the media, if you trusted CBS, because we all grew up thinking the news was what it was, just bipartisan, or, I guess bipartisan, but fair or journalistic in nature. And
some integrity, maybe.
So, yeah, you grew up, if you're Aunt Peg or Uncle Chip, you grew up knowing that. And then they sit here and then they tell you that if Trump takes office, he's going to kill all of you. He's going to take away every right. He's going to overthrow this government. He's going to be a dictator from day one. And they start spreading all these lies. You'll never be able to have contraception. They're going to be in the hospital room when you're having babies. Blah, blah, blah. If you believe, why would you not believe it? Why would you not fall in? Plus, they use that emotion so well about, children and women, and that's what they do. They pull on those heartstrings. It's hard not to because we're all human. We all care and we all love. Some of us just can't decipher the lies from the truth.
I think that's well put. People have a hard time deciphering truth, and the mainstream media loves that works, that plays right into their hands. That works in their favor because the majority of them, 96%, all say the same thing. They all have the same message, so they're all beating to the same drum, and everybody's like, look, this is headed our direction. We can keep these people in the dark.
Listen, something's going to happen later this week when we start to actually get the numbers on, what the View was, what Stephen Colbert was, what the numbers were. Remember, this is a woman in Kamala Harris who went into this process where she had a 28% approval rating. She was the least popular vice president in the history of modern politics. And no matter what they've tried to do, when you start seeing what the numbers are going to come back on, where Colbert will do a slightly bigger number, Fox, when it comes to CBS, they'll probably do slightly a bigger number. The podcast numbers are actually down on the Call Her Daddy and everything else, so down from their regular listenership. So you're recognizing that you brought a dud on.
Nobody cares.
And nobody cares about this person.
But, she's going to gain a little bit of traction because now she's in the spotlight. That's the only reason that she's gaining any approval is she's been thrust into this position or placed into this position where, of course, she's going to get a little bit from her base that now all of a sudden are like, she's extremely great. And I trust her more with the economy, which I don't know how you could. But then again, you're going to believe all the lies that they continue to tell you about these fake jobs that they created and all the information that they're going to continue to feed you. But the reality of it is this. I think most Americans, especially in the middle, are going to see through all of her BS and all of those things. Anytime you install a candidate, you're going to gain some momentum. But in reality, they know they didn't gain momentum. That's why they're begging for a debate.
Remember, 3 months ago, when you were to talk to regular Democrats, they would all tell you that Kamala Harris was a hindrance to the ticket and that she was the biggest problem
They're
they
trying
had
to
in
figure
their
out how
party.
to cut her off.
They're trying
and
to
get
figure
rid
out
of her
how to make
keep
this happen.
Biden.
The fact that they are now having to alter this thing and to turn it into, no, this woman's Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
All right, there's a certain point where the run-of-the-mill Democrat who does not suffer fools goes, no. What I thought 3 months ago is still what I think now.
Yeah.
And yesterday just drove it home.
Your eyes and ears don't lie to you.
No, not at all. Your eyes and ears don't lie to you. But remember, this is the group that told you for how long that Joe Biden was on top of it, that he was perfectly healthy, that nobody could keep up with him. They have fed lie after lie after lie because they have a base that believes every single lie. They have their sheep in their pen, and they will not release them or let them out. They're going to continue down this path. We joke about Trump derangement syndrome, but we all know that this is obviously a truth. It's obviously something people deal with because the way they continue to spread lies and land on that is just out of your mind. The one question I did hear her answer was literally, we brought $35 insulin to seniors. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Donald Trump actually was the one who wrote that executive order that you guys pushed away and then did not agree to continue on until you needed it politically. This is a joke. They're trying to buy as many votes as they can, and I just don't think it's going to work.
I think it'll be a failure as well. We do have the audio from Ducey. We'll get to that in just a little bit where he brought the receipts. when Karine Jean-Pierre said he was bringing misinformation to the White House briefing room, which is incredible in and of itself. But we'll get to that in just a second. Donald Trump coming to Atlanta, and the AJC is mad, Rhino, that he is not here to help Kamala Harris.
Isn't that crazy? I know. The AJC is very upset that he's going to be here in Atlanta doing what he needs to do, which is campaigning. And on the same night that he turned down a CNN, a 3-verse-1, let's be honest, at least 3-verse-1, it might have been more than that, on CNN. Harris should be happy about that. I don't think she needs to get into another debate because I think at this point he understands what she's going to do. She knows she's going to lose. She wants to debate so that she can draw him off sides. That's all it is about. She's not going to come in there with any more issues or policies or what she's going to do. What he's doing is he's actually being presidential. He's here in the state working with a governor to make sure that they get everything they need. He worked with Elon Musk to bring Starlink, to make sure that families were able to contact each other. He's done everything he can. He's coming to Atlanta area, and it's going to be up in Gwinnett, to campaign. That's exactly what he's going to do. And he's talking to he's going to be talking to the NRA as well and talking about gun rights and why we should be able to have our Second Amendment rights. He's doing his job.
You know, when it comes to the real weirdo, crazy people on Twitter, for like every 50 of the crazy stuff I get, I'll respond to like one. In part because I ain't going to punch down and I ain't going to give you the time of day. That's what it really comes down to. It's like one out of like every 50, I'll be like, you know what? You're silly. You don't understand what's going on. It'll be very simple. Donald Trump does not need to take part in anything that Kamala Harris has because that actually brings her audience.
Right, which is what we were talking about earlier with how every show she's on usually lose, like especially the podcast, losing listeners because no one's interested in her.
Do not do anything with her. No. She wants a debate because she wants an audience because she can't get it on her own. That's what all this comes down to. And so I think that the Trump campaign is incredibly intelligent. This isn't about winning or losing a debate. This isn't about, whether he'll answer the tough questions like she did on 60 Minutes. You know, that's Frank Lunt's BS. You don't want to give her an audience.
No. I agree 100%. And the reality of it is this. They are acting so childish, and this is the entire campaign. All they do is name call. All they do is call him chicken and this, that, and the other, and he's just ignoring it. You know why? He rises above all that name calling, which I think is funny to say, but in reality, that's exactly what's happening. They try to gaslight and do anything they can to draw him off sides. I think he just needs to stay the course, keep working with Ron DeSantis, keep working with Brian Kemp, keep working with North Carolina and the victims there and Elon Musk, and continue to do what you're doing, which is very presidential. Keep delivering the message of what's going on and how our border is not safe and how our economy is destroyed, because Kamala Harris will let you know that she'll never do anything different than Joe Biden did, which means that we're in for deep trouble.
Elon Musk is the only one that I think has a true plan to save America. The problem is I don't even think Donald Trump would do what Elon Musk wants to do if he's elected. He basically said, I want to cut 80% of the federal government. And I'm like, thank you. Yes. Now you're talking my language. I don't believe Donald Trump was going to allow that. I don't believe Donald Trump has the ability to do it. I think if he were to, it would be the greatest thing that happened to the United States since the founding of the United States. Cutting 80% of the federal government would be monumental to getting this country on the right track.
You have to deal with Congress. They control the purse strings for a reason. And our Congress is compromised with Mike Johnson, who continues to bow to the Democrats and allow the spending that continues to get out of control. Until we get to a point where we're able to vote on 12 appropriation bills and start cutting out some of this, and we start looking at seriously working on Social Security, Medicare, and lowering the amount that we're giving to all of, we're just overpaying for everything. And it's a huge problem that we continue to kick down the road until our kids are going to have to suffer with this one day. We are not going to be able to do anything until we get Congress on our side and get the people that need to be in there. That's why these local elections are so important.
There's a simple number. It's when you actually have a government job, it typically takes up $2 out of the private sector for every dollar that's in the private sector. That's just a simple view of what goes on because of the benefits that are involved and all the retirement and everything else. And so when you looked at the last jobs report, which will get revised down just like they all do, but 30% of all the new jobs in September of 2024 were government jobs. So when 30% of your economy is filled with government jobs that are basically sucking right out of the private sector because they're not producing anything, they're not selling anything, that is an unsustainable economy. And so when we start going through some of these numbers and you have somebody like Elon Musk who's saying, listen, I can cut the fat on this thing. All right, I would love to see it happen. It's just you're going to have a president who comes in who's brave enough to take on that swamp and, oh, by the way, who ain't worried about re-election.
So, right, Trump is in the position to do it. I just don't know if he's going to. I know, because he's a former Democrat, y'all. Let's not pretend that he's not. Democrats love programs. They love government. They love thick government. They love healthy government. Donald Trump spent like a drunken sailor. I mean, he did when he was in office. I'm voting for him. I think he loves America. I genuinely think he cares about the country. I just don't know if he has what it takes to do what Elon Musk wants to do in eliminating that big of a part of the government, which I think would be a blessing to every American.
Yeah, I mean, spending is out of control on both sides, let's be honest. And a lot of that is because of Republicans, and he's been part of that. And you can add in the COVID, and you can blame that, but there was more spending even before that. And we know that. What you need to do, and one of the reasons that I think Donald Trump is a good answer is, number one, he's got a good plan when it comes to energy. And when that happens, you're going to start bringing down the inflation numbers. You start bringing down the inflation rate or the interest rate. When the interest rate goes down, that's part of the reason our deficit is out of control. Think about how high the interest rate is because of Kamala Harris's economic policies. It's so high that we're paying interest on our debt, our deficit already. So of course it keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And when you look at the other side, you realize, hey, if you're going to build 3 million homes, give 25,000 for first-time buyers, 50,000 for small business. Think about how much that would add. One good thing is that thank God we have a Supreme Court that understands you can't just give student debt, because that would have added and put us over $2 billion this year in added deficit. This is where we need somebody like Donald Trump who's going to come in. And if he's serious, yes, let's start reworking and making sure that we have Social Security for our seniors that actually make sense, that we make sure that our Medicare is taken care of in the right direction. We start pulling some of the things out of Medicare that don't make sense, like trans surgeries and things like that. We have to actually go through and cut this. So Elon Musk would be perfect for it. I absolutely agree, but you've got to give him the power of the purse strings in some way.
I don't expect that any of that's going to happen. I'm hopeful. I just don't expect it. Morning Extra and Extra 106.3. The Talk Master is up next. We'll knock out the headlines. Talk to Neil about his evacuation from South Florida and what it is he's seen as he came out of the Sunshine State. Next on Extra 106.3, Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10.
The legend Neil Bortz is live every week with Atlanta legend The Kimmer.
Well, I don't know whether you've seen the Babylon Bee. You get a kick out of this. Babylon Bee, a couple of quick headlines. Hezbollah starting to think they should not have gotten their pagers from Levi Gold Bromstein's Pager Emporium. And one more. Israel kills thousands more terrorists with exploding 200 free hours of AOL CDs.
Oh, you're terrible. I like the little messages that are showing up on the pagers when you look at them. Yeah. You know, like, one of them just said 72 virgins calling.
Waiting for you.
Yeah. And the other one is from the liver to the knee.
I haven't seen that one. The liver to the knee.
Bortz and The Kimmer are only on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
The folks at Southern Exteriors care about the community that they reside in and that you reside in. This holiday season, the ultimate gift, a safe and secure home. They've announced their Home for the Holidays roof giveaway, running until November 30th this year. It means a lot more because there's so many families facing hardships with the economy being just in the tank. And so many people just have taken the brunt of the punishment when it comes to hurricane season, and we're about to get even more of it. So this year, they want to help those families without a roof over their head. Committed to making a difference, knowing if you know a deserving family that could use a new roof, you can nominate that family at southernexteriors.co/ChristmasGiveback. southernexteriors.co/ChristmasGiveback. They are going to put a brand new roof on somebody's house, and I bet we can all think of somebody who is in that situation. So nominate them. southernexteriors.co/ChristmasGiveback. southernexteriors.co/ChristmasGiveback. Don't miss out. Nominate someone today. If you need the work done at your own home, they can take care of it. They have over 200,000 projects under their belt. They have 30 field managers that are taking on all the tasks that are happening right now because of all the crazy weather that we've had here in the area. And they can help you out. southernexteriors.co and 8779-SOUTHERN, 8779-SOUTHERN.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
There's something very important that I want you to hear about, and it is the Jace case. This is a supply of emergency medications and antibiotics ready in your home when you most need them. When you look towards the future, we know this is absolutely necessary. Now more than ever, it is important to be prepared and self-sufficient because no one wants to rely on a pharmacy in the middle of an emergency. We're just too dependent on China to rely on our supply lines for our medications. Whether it's antibiotics or our daily medications that we rely on to maintain our health, we must prepare now. When I first heard about Jace Medical, I immediately knew this was something my family and I needed, and you needed to hear about. Dr. Rowland, I told him he's the head doctor at Jace. Every responsible person has to get a Jace case. These Jace cases are going to save lives, so please, I'm urging you, get a Jace case for your loved ones. Get one for you. Get the right meds the moment you need them at jace.com. Use the promo code BECK for a discount.
Securing America.
The U.S. military is being affected by Hurricane Milton due to the fact that both U.S. Central Command and MacDill Air Force Base are located in Tampa, Florida. Lieutenant Colonel John Rigsby tells Fox that due to mandatory evacuations, CENTCOM personnel are relocating to undisclosed backup sites to maintain operations and ensure the safety of military personnel and their families. Pentagon Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh.
I believe there will be, only essential personnel needed at the base during this time.
As for the military equipment normally on hand in Tampa,
I know that they've taken a number of precautions to move aircraft out, taking protective measures.
But Singh adds the shifting of CENTCOM's location should not impact U.S. military capability, especially where it matters most.
Our operations in the Middle East, they're going to continue to be able to conduct those missions.
Kevin Uletsky, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Wednesday, October 9th. After disappearing in September, former Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade is set to testify in front of the House Judiciary Committee. The panel is expected to investigate Wade's romantic relationship with Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis. Wade will sit before the committee in a closed-door session on October 15th. Rockdale County Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor Kenny Johnson collapsed after delivering testimony during the BioLab chemical fire public hearing. Johnson, who complained of shortness of breath, collapsed in the hallway and was rushed to Grady Memorial Hospital after State Representative Viola Davis administered CPR. Johnson passed away at the hospital. He was 62 years old. And in sports, University of Georgia wide receiver Colby Young was arrested for battery and assaulting an unborn child. The arrest report alleges that Young grabbed his pregnant ex-girlfriend during an argument as she tried to leave his apartment. Young was booked in a Clark County jail at 4:18 a.m. and remains in custody on a $2,500 bond.
We are waiting on the Talk Master Neil Bortz, hoping that he'll connect with us very, very soon. You just can never tell with weather what's happening with him. So we certainly we'll be trying to connect with him and make sure everything's good.
That and he doesn't tell us where he's at.
Yes, that's right, because he's top secret. I think he thinks people are coming after him.
He's in a bunker.
It could be.
The Bortz bunker.
He is so funny, though, about that. Like, he does not share his location. He is, and maybe it's just over the years he's had run into things like that.
Have you seen some of the left attack people and dox people?
Yeah.
I mean, we had a guy who flew from California and found Brent Kavanaugh's home. I don't blame Bortz.
Yeah, it seems crazy, but I understand. 7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Sant Law. If you're in an accident, make the right call. VanSantLaw.com. We were talking about Peter Doocy, Steve's son, Peter Doocy, the White House correspondent for Fox News Channel, and how Karine Jean-Pierre, when he was asking questions at the White House press briefing about funding for Lebanon and then funding for the folks up in North Carolina, and making Congress come back for the funding for the folks in North Carolina, but just sending the money to Lebanon with no problem. Peter asked the question, and Karine Jean-Pierre, the president's press secretary, said, "This is misinformation. You are spreading disinformation, misinformation." So Peter Doocy went to the West Wing of the White House and decided to film a short little video explaining why he's not spreading mis or disinformation at all.
Peter Doocy here, outside the West Wing of the White House, where this week, one of my questions about foreign aid versus hurricane relief was called misinformation. President Biden is fond of saying, "Show me your budget and I will tell you what you value." If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for
His
people
values,
in North Carolina who
his-
need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir. What you do? Yes,
Which
it's
part?
misinformation.
I've got the information right here. The vice president is posting on social media about $157 million in additional assistance to the people of Lebanon. President Biden is posting about how the Small Business Administration's disaster loan program is going to run out of funding if Congress does not come back. To a lot of people watching these briefings, a taxpayer dollar is a taxpayer dollar is a taxpayer dollar. That is not misinformation. That is a fact.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
And here's the deal. When you think about what Congress and the government has done with Social Security, they've used it for everything but Social Security. So you're telling me that that the federal government wouldn't be able to redirect the money that they just sent to Lebanon to the people in North Carolina?
Of course they
because
could.
by God, they could.
Absolutely they could. And in reality, okay, if you want to play this game, then call the Congress back for both. Let them vote on both, but you didn't. You knew that you wouldn't be able to get 170 or 57 million out to Lebanon by going through Congress before you took care of the people that were suffering here in this country, the Americans. But this isn't anything new from the Democrats. Carlos, they have been giving money to illegals. They've been giving money through the SBA, and it's not there. The $200 million that they promised, it's not there.
Yeah, if you want to talk about stretching flexibility, that is what they have done. They have found ways to expand their power and expand the reach of the money. You know, stuff that we use as taxpayers for emergencies. They've created scenarios where they go, all right, well, let's commit a little bit of money over here. Well, wait a minute, that's not what it's for. But that's an emergency.
It's a climate emergency.
It's a climate emergency. Oh, hey, look what we got going on at the border.
Humanitarian.
These people are leaving these areas because of climate change. So here's where we got to commit this money. That's what I talk about, stretching, the flexibility of these scenarios. We put this money aside because it is about our nature of being a caring society. They have taken advantage of that.
Anytime they want to redirect money, they do it. And anytime they don't, in this situation, they don't. You see how it works? It's not really hard to understand. When they want to do something, they do it. And then when they choose not to, they use the rules that are in place to prevent what they've already done from doing it again when people in North Carolina need it. That is what's happening, and that's what continues. And that's exactly what Peter Doocy is talking about. When you see them, and when he says for taxpayers, $1's $1, $1, he's exactly right, man. I know that money could go to North Carolina, but you chose to redirect it somewhere else.
Right, and you're asking us to vote on it. And then they're going to play the game that, oh, well, Republicans voted against this and voted against that, and they're doing it already. Voted against FEMA money. You know why? Because you have so much unused funds, and then the bill that you put in for the FEMA money was an absolute ridiculous attempt to be able to give illegal aliens shelter and housing, because that was an emergency, right? Humanitarian need for illegals that need shelter, housing, and food, and humanitarian aid. That's their emergency. So they take American taxpayer dollars and give it to them in order to find them housing and food. When in reality, we should be finding the people who live here who have paid those taxes. We should be returning to them and saying, hey, this is what it's here for. It's for you. Let us help you in any way we can. But instead, we're sending all our money to Ukraine. We're sending all our money to Lebanon. We're sending all our money to Iran. We're sending all our money to fight wars and to feed the military-industrial complex to get back in their pockets. That's why Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney are more than happy to jump on Kamala Harris's side.
Kamala Harris, this is according to Newsweek, Kamala Harris Lebanon Relief Fund under scrutiny as the GOP stokes the Helena backlash. Nobody needs to stoke anything. We're just pointing out what the hell is actually happening.
Why is it a problem? And it's not for us, but why is it a problem to point out the lack of federal response, and that when you are seeing a federal response, it's in the way of loans? These are not grants. These are not, here's this portion of this money, you're going to get it, you don't have to pay it back. These are loans that if you don't pay back, they will confiscate your property.
The reality is they had no problem saying that George Bush hated black people when it came to Katrina. They had no problem playing these games left and right with it. We didn't come out here and say Kamala Harris hates white people or hates the people of Appalachia, even though I truly believe that. But the reality is our leaders haven't come out there and said it. What we have said is, here's what we need to be taken care of for the American people. And they've responded by saying, no, we don't need them here. It took them how long to get out there? It took them how long to notice? They can say whatever they want. Kamala Harris is playing politics. Ron DeSantis is absolutely right. We've got this. We know what we're doing. You don't offer us any real help. We're not playing political games with you. We're not giving you photo ops. We need to be here for the people, and you don't want to be here for the people.
Well, I wonder what's going to happen when Hurricane Milton is going to make landfall, and it's going to be later on today, probably at some point tonight. Whatever the devastation is, I wonder if this is going to be a media that's going to memory hold this thing as well, because none of it looks good for the administration. And again, there's no way. It's on the governor and it's on the people of Florida to prepare. That's why so many of them have come north. That's just what you do. Mm-hmm. But when you start seeing the devastation and you start wondering, where's the federal government? And they're always going to be a day or two behind, if not 2 weeks behind.
Because of bureaucracy and nonsense that they have to deal with. Because that's built in.
That's the nature of what goes on.
Government.
If they know they're going to catch the blame for this thing, then how much are they really going to show of this thing?
Yeah, dude, they're going to try to sidestep all of it. And their saving grace is a Republican governor in Florida. That's their saving grace. That's the only thing that's going to keep this thing from being much worse than it could be.
Yeah.
Much worse than it would be, is because you have a Republican governor in Ron DeSantis who is preparing. And Joe Biden, whether he did it just to slap Kamala or he really believes it, doesn't matter to me. It's the truth. He said he's doing a great job, and that's because he is. This would be much worse, and the outcome would ultimately be much worse if Ron DeSantis wasn't in charge down there.
Oh, absolutely. Look, the reality of it is this. When you look around the country, you look at job creation, you look at, whoever's doing better, bringing business into their states. It's Republican governors. When you look at the lowest crime rates, it's the states that are mostly red. It's only in the blue cities that we have high crime rates, these things. This is just known facts. These are actual statistics that you can look up every single day. So when you have a leader like a Ron DeSantis in Florida, you don't need to worry about the federal government coming in, because you have a strong leader that's going to do a better job. And that's why we have states and the separation of the states. When you have a Governor Kemp, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's establishment or not, he's doing a great job with most of the things that we ask to run our state.
By and
large. It's a good thing. Love him. Love what he's doing. There are things I don't like about him, but that's okay. There's a lot of people who I like and I don't like. And we're okay with that. What I don't like is that they're ignoring everything. Right.
But that's the thing. It's not absolutism.
But for them, it always is.
Yeah, for sure. The left, it is lock it. If you're not locking arms, then you're out of the circle. Like we even in this room we disagree on things. It doesn't change the way that I feel about you as a person.
Absolutely.
We can disagree on all kinds of things, and I still like you, and I still want to see you do well, and I still want your family to do well, and I still want to be friends with you. But that absolutism is something that I just cannot go along with, Lowe's. That's just something I can't get on board with.
I feel the same way about Joe, and we couldn't be more different.
No, it's for sure, and I love Joey.
It's mostly the mustache.
Handsome.
But it's okay. We don't agree. I mean, he's just wrong all the time.
and was it 3 miles? Joe put in the work yesterday.
What?
Oh, yesterday I played basketball for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Look at there.
Wow. Look at him. This man is, you know what? Give him like a few more months. Svelte.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a phrase that you don't hear very often anymore, but it's going to be Svelte Joe.
That's a good one.
Joe.
I like
Lady
that word.
killer.
I don't even think I know that word well. So
The velvety svelte.
Yeah, but it sounds fancy. And
we're going to be calling him Velvet Joe because he's just so smooth.
That's right. Yeah, it is so funny. Just to see Kamala Harris, though, the woman that is running for the highest office in the land, to her get into a spat with Ron DeSantis. DeSantis comes out on top because Joe Biden gives her the KO punch. Then she goes out and has Miller Lights with Stephen Colbert and looks like she's never had a beer in her life, which I'm sure she's usually drinking high-end wines and whatever. It's good for her. I'm glad she's living that way. But then she says she's a gun owner, and I swear I to this moment do not believe it. There's just so many things that don't add up. Nothing she does adds up.
It feels very strange because every time she starts talking about her personal life, there's a part of me that I just question all of it. Like, in my mind, I think I know what Donald Trump is, and I think I know who he is, and I think that that's a man who probably loves himself more fast food than any other president in the history of this country.
Yeah.
Like, that man will go and dive into a Burger King like you can't believe. And I'm like, okay, that's who he is. As soon as Kamala Harris tells me, well, I really like X, I go, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure I believe you.
I really believe you.
She just comes off as so phony and authentic.
She's a 60-year-old woman. I get it. She can't handle a shovel when they were doing that the other day. Yeah. That I'm like, guess what? When I'm 60, I will not be able to handle a shovel. That's not odd to me. But when she just gets into trying to tell you about her personal life, there's a part of me that just keeps going back to, I don't believe you on any of it.
No, there's people that I've dealt with in my life over the years that you get that from. Yeah, I guess maybe you've ran into it. I don't know. I have. And you just, when you deal with them, you're like, I don't think you're telling me the truth. And it becomes such a habit that every time you deal with that same person, you're like, I'm not sure I'm getting the truth out of you. And I don't understand why, because I don't care. What's it to me?
Well, like the gun issue. And I'm not going to call her a liar. I'm not going to say that it's wrong. It just feels weird where if I was to ask Tug, what do you drive? I drive a Ford. Okay, what kind of Ford? A Ford.
Yeah, right.
That's kind of what she did.
Right, yeah.
Like, I would tell you, here, I'm driving an F-250, an F-350.
I got a GMC 2018 GMC Sierra Z71 four-wheel drive.
Okay.
That's what I got.
So you're able to point it out to that level. Now, I will tell you, when it comes to my car, I can't tell you what package of my Nissan it is, okay? Like, I don't remember. I have to look these things up. I'm not a car guy. Yet, when you tell me that you own a firearm and you say it's a Glock, typically there's more that goes along with it.
Yeah.
You know, who are you a fan of? Atlanta? What team? Atlanta?
It's
just weird.
It just comes off as phony, man. There's nothing that she doesn't, or nothing that she does that comes off as authentic. Nothing. I can't think of one moment.
Rhino, where do you live? Georgia. Where in Georgia? Georgia.
Georgia.
like where's
Georgia?
Lack of specifics here.
Yeah, but it's because you don't know, man. I don't believe she owns a gun, dude.
What's your favorite place in Georgia?
There's
Georgia.
no way she owns a gun.
Right. I don't think she does.
There's no way.
She says she's been in law enforcement
you know
her
what?
whole life.
Hold on one second. You know what? I do kind of believe that she does have a gun because she's lied about everything else. And the way she attacks one thing, there are rules for her. The rest of us are not supposed to have guns. So it wouldn't surprise me.
I can see where she's a firearm owner in part because that's the worst thing you can be in California.
Yeah. I don't believe it for 1 second. Not even. And I'm not even sure I believe Tim Walz either. Like, I don't know that I believe he's a gun owner.
Please, sir. He's carried weapons of war.
In Italy. the mean streets of Italy. Watch out.
In war zones.
In war zones and things. Anyway, all right. We're going to continue to check in with Bortz and see if we can locate him, make sure he's good. I feel certain he is. I'm not sure what the conflict is, but we're going to get to the bottom of it for sure. All right, when we come back, move over to CNN. One man stands out among many that do not tell the truth about Kamala. This man, however, he does and he does not mince his words. Next on Extra 106.3.
All wealth in this country is owned by individuals, not by corporations. All wealth is held by individuals.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Hey, sandwich lovers. Today is your lucky day. There's a whole new way to roll for lunch or dinner delight with Nucky's Hoagies in the Roswell Corners Shopping Center. Now open. Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell is family owned and operated by the Sub Sisters, Stacy and Shannon, whose love language is food and Nucky's Hoagies, their passion. When you bite into a Nucky's Hoagie, you'll taste the difference. The softest hoagie rolls ever, along with hunger-quenching sandwich combinations. Make Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell on Woodstock Road your new favorite spot for lunch or dinner.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that, too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPSETC.com.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, the Marketing Mad Men. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Mad Men every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 106.3.
My name is Jamie High, and I have worked for Bruce Hagen for 14 years. Why do I work for Bruce? Because he truly cares. He cares about me, he cares about my family, and he cares about each and every one of his clients. Family is important to him, and he never makes me choose between my family and work. He values me as an employee, but also as a person. At our firm, we are all family, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I am Jamie, and I've worked for Bruce Hagen for 14 years because he's the best. Hagen-law.com.
Get ready for unfiltered conversations on The Janelle King Show, where we tackle the topics that you won't hear at your family gatherings, but they're absolutely crucial for a strong republic. Don't miss us live every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3. But if you can't tune in, that's okay. You can catch new episodes every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. Join us for these discussions, and I can't wait to meet you there.
Doug Moore is a health insurance broker at yourchoicehealthplan.net. He believes your health insurance premiums should not look like a mortgage payment. You don't have to overpay for health insurance. He sells private insurance with no deductibles and no rate increases. These plans are typically 30 to 60% less than what you're paying and don't need to change doctors. He customizes all plans to meet your budget. Don't fret. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net. He can save you big money. Call Doug Moore at 770-697-0100. That's 770-697-0100. Don't fret. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net. If your payment is too high, you're on COBRA, or your work coverage is too expensive, call Doug, 770-697-0100. You don't have to have government marketplace insurance that's crazy expensive. Don't fret. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net and request a quote. Call 770-697-0100 and let Doug design a plan for you, not by big government.
The Morning Extra. Glenn Beck, Clay and Buck, The Kimmer Show, Jesse Kelly, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson. The biggest lineup of conservative voices in the South are on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra 106.3 app.
Kamala Harris has had a disastrous day. I mean, she was so bad on softball interviews with The View and with Howard Stern. She did poorly on 60 Minutes. There's nothing that she's done well. That's not been missed by Scott Jennings over at CNN. That dude is a bulldog.
No, and I'm glad that CNN, and this is different, CNN actually is allowing themselves to have somebody who is playing the opposite side of the aisle, and they allow him to be this person that's able to fire back at people without repercussion. Because a lot of times what happens when you're in cable news, you have the token Democrat when it comes to Fox. You
Jessica
have the token
Tarlov. What's the Harold Ford Jr.?
Yes, you have the token Republican that'll show up on MSNBC, and your job is to show up and get your teeth kicked in. That's not what's happening with Scott Jennings.
You're like the jobber for the WWE and the WWE or the WCW, right? The guy that goes in and wrestles the big wrestler, and you're meant to be beat up. You're meant to take the fall.
You're the Washington Generals.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
You're the Harlem Globetrotters. You play and you lose every single night, and your job is to do that. And Scott Jennings is different. So I credit CNN. They're allowing him to be that guy.
I don't know what made them flip the switch, and I'm not sure why they picked him to do it, because he's showing everybody on the setup with regularity, and he did it again. Al Franken tried to jump in, and it did no good.
Let me give you the political reality that we're in right now in October. Sure. Huge majority of the American people believe and know that we have an illegal immigration crisis in this country. Kamala Harris got asked 3 times on national television tonight if it was wrong to change the executive orders the way they did on day one that allowed this huge flood of people to come in. She would not address it because she knows how politically damaging it is. There are people all over this country and every political party and independents too who know full well that if she becomes the president, we're going to have a permissive immigration structure, even more permissive than we had under Biden. And they believe Donald Trump will crack down on this, and that he has the common sense viewpoint that, hey, maybe we don't want violent people in here. No, they don't go down the list and say rapist in, rapist in. They just go down the list and say in. Why don't we know if they've been convicted of a crime in another country? It's broken. He will crack down on it. She will not, and everyone knows it.
That's exactly right. He hit the nail on the head, and they had
just torched him.
They had no response, because there is no response. There's nothing that they can say that changes that reality.
There is nothing that can change that reality, and it's the truth. People know that, though. I don't think people are confused about the border at this point.
No, you're right. You're right.
I think they know what the truth is. I think they are. Now, 30% of the left is so far gone, the progressive left, that they will just say anything to say, hey, open the borders. Everybody should have a right to go anywhere they want without any kind of restrictions. Unless, of course, you're at the DNC, then it's okay to have a border wall up so that you can't get in there. But otherwise, they should be able to get everybody in. But most of America, I think 70% agree, the border is a huge issue.
Thank you, first off, because we're doing record numbers on this radio station, in part because we are in a political season that I don't think that we may never see this again. I think about like the knockout punch. You know, what's been the knockout punch? Was it Donald Trump destroying Joe Biden on a debate stage, and all of us looking at Joe Biden and going, he's gone. Like he's not here mentally. And that was supposed to be it. And technically it was. Was it Donald Trump being shot leading up to the RNC and then showing up on stage there? The one that I'm now pondering was this Kamala Harris getting on The View and saying she wouldn't change one policy? Because if you want to acknowledge that we have a border crisis, she's basically saying we have a border crisis and we're not going to do anything about it.
That's right. We're going to give you more of the same. Get ready for it. And we had the news overnight. Late last night, the FBI arrested an Afghan national who was plotting an ISIS-inspired terrorist attack on Election Day to target large crowds. He came into the United States on 9/9/21, special immigrant visa, one of those humanitarian parole visas. And that is all due to what Scott Jennings was just talking about. It wasn't like they were like, hey, send us the people that are going to plot terrorists. They're just letting everybody in.
No, the screening process is going out the window.
There is no screening process whatsoever. They can pretend and they can say there is, but we know better because this keeps happening.
One of the great tragedies that's going on is the amount of human trafficking that is happening, especially with children, where we used to do DNA testing at the border. Now we no longer do it in order to make sure that these people... the more that come in, the better. That's all it comes down to. And let's face it, if you want to get a little bit more darker, it's because that human sex trafficking business is big business. Okay, like there's certain people in power that just go
Epstein.
Exactly. They go, oh man, listen, I'm paying off the right people. But when you get right down to it, we're not screening any of these people. In fact, when they do get a hit for, terrorist connections, accused of rape or accused of murder in their home country, we're going, oh, come on in. We'll figure it out from here, everybody.
If you want more of that, Kamala has confirmed. Yesterday on The View, she confirmed it for you. You will get more of it. That's why it's so important. Again, last night, I followed up with my son. I was like, have you got your absentee ballot thing filled out? No. I'm like, okay, well, the absentee is over on the 25th. You got to get it done before then. He was like, I will get it done. We'll get it done. And I know he knows it's important. He's been so engaged watching the debates, talking about it with the other guys on the baseball team. But it's so easy to say, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. And I understand he's a 20-year-old. I'm going to get to it. He's college and he's got baseball, all that. I get it. You have to make it a priority. Because if you want more of people like that, the Afghan that was plotting an ISIS terrorist attack on Election Day for people standing in line in Oklahoma to vote, then if you want more of that, then either A, don't vote, or let your friends and family vote for Kamala Harris, because you'll get it.
You'll get it. You'll get the worst of everything if you allow Kamala Harris or you allow your family to vote for Kamala Harris. I'm sorry. I hate to say it that way, but she offers nothing. There are other Democrats. Look, there was Clinton. There were things that Obama said that even though I disagreed with a majority of the things he said, I could at least understand some of his ideas. Everything that Kamala Harris has told me so far just lead to the destruction of this country. The way that they've attacked a political opponent, the way that they've weaponized against him, the way that the FBI, the Secret Service, everything is running in the direction of saying, hey, this is a very fearful thing. I'm very afraid of Kamala Harris' presidency. I'm afraid of a Tim Walz who turned guns on his own people. Yeah, I hope people get to the polls. I hope that, we have somebody like Janelle King in all the states and the rest of the state election board that want to protect our elections, because I truly believe they've stolen elections before and they'll do it again.
They will continue to do whatever it takes to win. Mm-hmm. It does not matter what it is.
Including replacing Americans.
You can't say that because you're spreading misinformation.
Fine. I'm spreading misinformation, but yet you paid them and gave them EBT cards for my money and won't take care of the people I care about.
Yep, that's right. Okay. And if you complain about it, you're the problem.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You are the problem. And they will continue to do whatever.
And then I have to listen to Mayorkas tell me that, oh, no, FEMA's got tons of money. They got tons of money. Well, then why aren't we using it in those directions? Well, we have to go by what this says and this, that, and the other.
Unless they want to do something with the money that they don't want you to know about, and then they drop all the rules and break all the rules.
I believe a lot of the people that are working for FEMA are doing a good job. Are out there trying to help all the
genuinely
people.
want to.
And are there in North Carolina.
The bureaucracy prevents them,
Absolutely. They're doing everything they can. But the bureaucracy and the games that they're playing politically are not allowing FEMA to do exactly what they're supposed to do. And that's where the biggest problem is. When you sit here and tell me that you do have $9.8 billion and you do have all this funding, and yet it's not being moved because, in 2012 we had Sandy, so we can't use that money that we've put aside for them. These are the statistics. These are the facts that they're going to leave out every single day. And it's tiresome.
We're going to see what's going to happen here in Florida in the next 24 hours, and that's going to be that next wave of a high level of frustration. Now, I firmly believe that they all know their governor's on top of things, but remember, you're always having to request federal funds from the federal government, and then you got to wait to see what they do and how quickly they do it.
And on top of the terrorist attack that I told you about, woman in her 50s, Dallas suburb, tied up by 4 illegals from Venezuela, threatened to cut off her fingers, beat her with a pistol before ransacking her home. The one of the 4 that did this had been arrested multiple times and then just released.
Oh, and by the way, in San Antonio, they're having the same deal with the Venezuelan gangs that are breaking into apartments, leasing them to other illegals, or they're demanding rent payments. So the same stuff you heard out of Aurora in Colorado is now happening in Texas as well.
What would I change? Nothing. Kamala is trying to separate herself from Joe Biden. Says she'd do nothing different next on Xtra 106.3.
for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Conspiracy theories. Hey, I'm no stranger to conspiracy theories. I'm the guy on the radio that said dolphins had swum up the torpedo tubes of a nuclear submarine and they were going to nuke Los Angeles. But I followed that radio show with 2 words: April Fools. But the conspiracy theories today are just ridiculous. Who are the idiots that buy into these things? First and foremost, the earth is flat. No, seriously. If you're on Facebook, look up some of the flat earth Facebook pages. The earth is flat. It's surrounded by a wall of ice and covered by a dome. The sun is only 4,000 miles away. How do they know this? It's all in the Bible. The firmament in the Bible is actually that glass dome over the flat earth. We call them flurfs. Here's a new one. That teacher from New England that died in the Challenger disaster, oh, she's not dead. She's now a professor in a law school up there in New England. The whole Challenger thing was faked. How do we know? Because the earth is flat. That's how we know. Those condensation trails that jet airliners leave, those are chemtrails. They're chemicals that the government is putting in the air to poison us and control us. There was never a moon landing. It was faked. All of the pictures of Earth taken from space, they're fake. Try this one. Birds aren't real. They're actually small drones being operated by the government to keep an eye on us. No, not kidding. The trouble with these things is that people actually believe them. And if they will believe those, they'll believe slanderous lies like Alex Jones and school shootings. And 9/11 was an inside job. Come on, folks, do some homework. Don't let idiots with internet connections steer you into this insanity. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Braves Country Baseball and Softball Association offers ball players the unique opportunity to learn new skills through official Braves Clinic curriculum while getting closer to their favorite team than ever before. Braves Clinics will consist of nonstop fun with an emphasis on teamwork, attitude, and healthy competition. The unique baseball and softball programs will help players ages 6 to 12 of all abilities develop on and off the field. Visit Braves.com/clinics to see locations and sign up for fall clinics today. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves Country.
Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watch Company, where quality and value make the difference. Locally owned and located in Sandy Springs, offering you the finest selection of unique diamonds, sapphires, rubies, and emerald jewelry, as well as other fine gemstones. Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watches has been servicing Rolex watches for over 30 years, and their Rolex-trained watchmaker will service your watch in their state-of-the-art Rolex service center in their store. Lee Brandt uses only genuine Rolex parts, and their estimates are free. Drop by Lee Brandt in the Trader Joe's Shopping Center in Sandy Springs or visit LeeBrandt.com.
Mike, the engineer, says based on the yard signs he's seeing, Kamala will finish third behind Donald Trump in garage sale.
I hope.
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app. WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
It's just the beginning. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
You can feel that the wind is picking up.
Fox Weather's Britta Merwin in Sarasota, Florida, which could get a direct hit from Hurricane Milton tonight and tomorrow.
2 minutes ago, a vivid flash of light across the sky, and the rumble of the thunder shook the ground. I mean, we're talking about a real deep, powerful boom.
An update just out has Milton now just under a Category 5 hurricane with 155-mile-an-hour max winds, and there could be a 15-foot storm surge from Tampa on down. Fox's Evan Brown reports.
Many people have left the Florida Gulf Coast for higher ground, though first responders are staying behind to get to work after.
We were hit by Ian, not hammered. This is going to be a hammer, I feel like, in this circumstance.
Charlie Thorpe is the police chief in Venice, Florida, near Sarasota, where the city water system is turned off. In Bradenton, Mayor Gene Brown knows there are people who didn't leave.
It's been heartbreaking to go out there and dealing with people.
This less than 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene caused widespread devastation, Florida up to North Carolina. 4 weeks before the election, Vice President Harris did a series of media interviews, from The View to Howard Stern to the CBS Late Show with Stephen Colbert, getting a warm welcome welcome.
So would you like to have a beer with me so I can tell people what that's like? Okay.
Now, Monday night, Harris was interviewed by CBS 60 Minutes, facing tougher questions, but former President Trump just posted on Truth Social an allegation that 60 Minutes producers edited Harris's answers to make her look better, claiming it's the definition of fake news, demanding an apology and an investigation. Now, the Trump campaign is also calling this made up. An allegation about something from Russia.
A claim in a Bob Woodward book coming out next week is confirmed by the Kremlin, which says former President Trump did send coronavirus testing devices to Russian President Vladimir Putin at the height of the pandemic.
That's Fox's Lillian Wu. America's listening to Fox News.
If your approach to everyday aches and pains is to mask them, feel better for a few hours only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again, it's time to try Relief Factor. And the good news is Relief Factor makes that easy. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it. How? Well, its unique formula of ingredients helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors. It's 100% drug-free, and for so many people, the results are game-changing, even life-changing. So give it a try. Right now, their 3-week quick start is just $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
Hey, it's Clay Travis. Buck Sexton and I are coming your way at noon, but right now we're getting your morning started right with Tug, Rhino, and Carlos Medina on the Morning Extra.
Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10 on Extra 1063. Glad that you're here. What we do is we walk softly and carry a big stick. We hit people with the truth right over top of the head, and if they don't listen, we hit them harder until they finally do.
Rhino, you don't know about this, but Tug went over into the main sales floor.
Uh-oh.
And he laid it down on the sales staff.
Good, finally.
Because as he told me, might makes right.
Yeah.
He is the alpha male in that area.
Yeah, for sure.
So he basically throws it down and just shows them all, if you say anything, if you look at me funny, I'm going to slap the thought out of your brain.
And then I'm going to bring my boys with me.
That's right.
That's right.
And then we're going to start slapping everybody.
Listen, I got your back no matter what. I am loyal to you.
That's right. You're very kind. You're very kind, and I appreciate it. Yeah. But none of that is true. However, it sounds real good.
It does sound good. It makes us tough.
But we do hit people with facts on the show all the time.
Oh, those hurt worse.
They do. Rhino, you're exactly right.
I do enjoy that, and whenever we do end up eventually catching on with Neil Bortz, because Neil's they're traveling.
Hopefully 8:25. That's our target.
They're traveling around. They're trying to get to a spot in order to do the broadcast, and they've evacuated from Naples. But when he always called his show the Church of the Painful Truth.
Yes.
I was always like, good for you.
Yeah,
that's a great line. Like, not only am I preaching at you, but you ain't going to like it sometimes.
I wonder if he would let us, use that.
Why don't you introduce the show
Can we
that
do
way?
it? Start introducing it. Yeah, welcome to the Church of Painful Truth.
And you call yourself
Neil Bortz.
You call yourself the word master, right?
Yes, I'm the word master. That's perfect. I love this.
I'm the speak master.
You could be pudding stick, the one who stirs everything up.
That's right.
There you go.
I'm telling you, Neil.
No, but the reality is the truth does hurt. And the truth is something that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz continue to hide from. I mean, there's a reason that Tim Harris has to say I'm a knucklehead and I misspeak all the time. No, you lie all the time. And I know a lot of politicians lie, but this is a different level than I've seen. Look, we're going to embellish. That's a different kind of lie to me. I understand embellishments sometimes. I have the greatest hair ever, or I'm better looking.
Right.
Whatever. You're not Trump. You're kind of a goofy looking guy.
Or to make a point.
But whatever. But the reality is when you sit and lie about your service, when you lie about IVF, when you lie about little things like that, that's where the problems are with these people. So when you start giving the truth, look how defensive the left gets.
Well, fortunately for us, Kamala Harris did tell you the truth yesterday.
Boy, howdy did she. Goodness
I love
gracious.
when that happens.
The fact that you see what's going on in America is not that's not gotten by Kamala Harris. She realizes that you understand the country's on the wrong path. And I think the latest polling I saw said 65% of Americans say America, the country, we are headed in the wrong direction. So what does Kamala Harris do when she goes on The View? They ask her, what would you do differently? What would you have done differently? Is there anything that you would change? And she's like, no, nothing.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Let that sink in just for a minute.
This message brought to you by Donald J. Trump.
No kidding. She literally said, I wouldn't do anything, and all the bad crap that's going on, I had a hand in it.
There's such a mess that's going on right now within the Democrat Party because while she's on The View, you do have President Joe Biden, he's still the president, counter-programming her. While now 2 different times in 3 days, he's made it a point. I'm going to get up in front of the media while she's talking to take away any attention over what she's discussing. So when she goes on The View, it is a rock and a hard place. Does she point out, hey, I would have redone what we did in Afghanistan? You probably would score some points by doing that. At the same time, she's got to worry about what this crazy old man is doing to undermine her campaign the entire time. So she's like having to, what do I say? Yeah. Did I change a bunch of stuff that he messed up, or do I just kind of go along with it?
Well, she's going along with it. Not only that, but you're running on changing everything that he did, aren't you?
Yeah.
Aren't you running on
I'm the change candidate.
I'm the change candidate.
And
so
some people believe that.
Of course they believe it because they're sheep. They fall into this line. They're going to vote for a woman who's given you no policy, no idea except for how she's going to continue to add to our debt, how she's going to continue to raise our prices. All she's told me is how it'll affect me and make it worse for most of Americans. But in the entire time, they play this game of, well, I'm cool. I'm joyful. I'm the fun one. Look at Tim. He's dancing around like Richard Simmons up there. Look how fun he is. This is a disinformation campaign. This is a campaign that's supposed to lead you into believing that everything's going to be happy and joyful. And in reality, what they're telling you is, not only am I not, and I should be attached to Joe Biden, but I'm going to make it worse.
I'm going to talk about Aunt Peg, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Aunt Peg. I'm sorry.
We love you. You're just wrong.
For some reason, and this is just a buzzword that they've used for a multitude of campaign, change ends up being that one word that they all get behind, even though it's really more of the same. Mm-hmm. So when you got given, 14, 15 years ago, change you can believe in, yeah, you didn't really like what the Obama economy was.
What are you
Nobody
talking about?
did.
8 years. That was great, wasn't it, for the black communities?
Nobody was all that interested in change you can believe in. All right, so now, what did they march back out? I'm the change candidate. Wait, from the same party, the same administration that's been in power for the last 4 years, and suddenly now you're the change candidate?
Same empty promises.
But then why wouldn't you say that? She had an opportunity to say we're going to change all kinds of things.
I'm telling you,
she doesn't know.
No, she knows. She's concerned about what Joe Biden's going to do to her because think about this, every 2 times Joe doesn't even get in front of the press, and yet he made it a point. Where's she going on? Oh, she's in Michigan. All right, I'm going to hold a press conference.
Yeah.
Hey, where's she on The View? This is like her big one. All right, I'm going to hold a press conference.
You think Joe's doing it, or is it Jill? Like, which one is saying, hey, this is the idea, let's do this?
You know what I mean? That's one of the same.
Is she telling Joe, hey, Joe, go do this? I don't like this woman. She's full of it. They did this to you. Because in reality, that's all they did. They took away all of the votes that he got and gave them to her in that regard, even though she didn't earn any of them. So as she says she earns this, she hasn't earned a thing. She was put in every single position. And I'm not saying that, she's not a good lawyer. She's not. I won't go back and say that. I don't know her entire record, partly because, well, she doesn't really have one.
We know she never tried an appeal case.
I'm not going to call her dumb. I'm not going to call her that. What I am going to say is that she didn't earn any of this.
No,
she was given all of this, and she's playing the game they're telling her to play. I like that Joe Biden is going out there and doing these things. I don't know if it's intentional, but it sure seems that way.
Certainly looks like it.
And it's the best I've seen him in 3.5 years.
I know. Stephen King, the author, he says Ron DeSantis' decision not to take the vice president's call ahead of Hurricane Milton was like a sulky teenager refusing to talk to a girl who won't date him. Childish and dangerous. And then Joe Biden goes, nah, I gave him my phone number. We had a good conversation.
The governor of Florida has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs. I talked to him again yesterday, and I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my personal phone number to call. So I don't know. There was a rough start in some places, but every governor every governor from Florida to North Carolina has been fully cooperative and supportive and acknowledged what this team is doing. And they're doing an incredible job. But we got a lot more to do.
I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but talk about just dressing down your vice president.
Undermining.
Undermining is a great word. In front of the entire nation.
Well, you know, again, I don't know if it's intentional. What I do think is that Joe Biden realizes right now the most important thing to do as the president of the United States is work with Ron DeSantis and make sure that they're ready. The one good thing that I heard about Joe yesterday is that he canceled his trips out of the country so that he could stay here and focus on whatever they needed for the hurricane. He then goes out and praises a Republican governor and says he's doing a great job and doesn't need it. So, yes, I think it is undermining, but I think it's more of him saying, well, I'm the president. I'm going to make these decisions. This is what I'm supposed to do. She could campaign all she wants, but she shouldn't be campaigning with Ron DeSantis. So I think it's unintentional. Maybe, I don't know, but I really do think Jill's like, go out there and do this and say this.
Considering what we brought up 24 hours ago, the question was, why would you involve yourself in going after DeSantis in the way that Kamala Harris did? I was like, you open up yourself to all sorts of criticism.
From your boss.
And that was the weird part. I thought to myself, Ron DeSantis, and he went right back after her, like, she's not in the chain of command. She's not involved in any of this stuff. And I thought that was the end of it until Joe Biden jumped in. And Joe Biden's like, you know what he was? He was the fat kid on the trampoline who's like, you ain't been bounced enough.
Yeah, let
me bounce you a little bit more. That's what he did to her yesterday.
Maybe that's part of the thing, and maybe maybe you're right on some of that. Maybe he doesn't realize what he's saying. He's just been told what to say. But if Jill's telling him, and Jill can't stand Kamala, it is well documented that they don't get along well. Then she sent him out there. She was the last in the ear. Sent him out there and said, honey, here's what to say. And let me tell you, he took her to task. So whether he means it or knows it,
it's got to
matter.
But
somebody has put it in there.
Absolutely. Who is the biggest and most important audience that she was going on with yesterday? The View.
The View.
That is the biggest and most important audience. And he made it a point to counter-program her during that time spot.
Again.
And I don't know if people watched, The View or Joe Biden, but I know that enough watched The View to probably give him a decent number from yesterday to have the vice president on, but I don't expect it to be groundbreaking or shattering in any way. I love that they continue to do the Joe Biden thing. He's been in hiding long enough. They bring him out in the perfect time. It sure seems planned. And like you guys said, I don't know if it's unintentional. I don't know if Jill's behind it. I would expect that Jill's saying, hey, I've had enough of this. I don't like what they've done to you. I don't trust them in any way whatsoever not to turn on us. So just go out there and do your job, but make it look like you do not support her. And I would totally understand that.
Think about from that time slot, because remember, she did the whole tour of all the media that she did yesterday. Get to know Kamala Harris. The only thing that came out of The View, remember, she talked about how I'm going to put a Republican on my staff. It's going to be in my cabinet. And everyone was like, woo, yeah, all right, good way to go, girl summer. The only two things that came out of it was you wouldn't change anything.
Right.
And Joe Biden criticizing you.
During your visit.
That was it. That's what you got out of it. Social media focused strictly on Joe Biden crapping on you with the DeSantis thing and you saying you wouldn't change anything from the current administration.
And the question I have is...
It's not a win.
No, of course it's not. A question I have is for my Aunt Peg and people like Stephen King, who I just read you his tweet, not taking the call of the Vice President DeSantis like a sulking teenager, refusing to talk to the girl who won't date him. So now that Joe Biden said the exact opposite of what you said, Stephen King and Aunt Peg, what say you now? Like, how you just went into a circle because you look like a fool for saying what you said because none of it adds up.
She tried to say what she was going to say. And then the horse's mouth opened up and told you what was going on.
Right.
And basically pointed out, and I exchanged my number with this person just in case.
Dude, if you want to talk about the funniest part of all of it, that little bitty detail that didn't need to be in there was put in there.
So the joke was always, if you ever watched The Office, 20 years ago, one of the greatest shows on television. The British version's great, the American version's great. But when you would have I'm the assistant regional manager. No, you're the assistant to the regional manager.
Right.
All right. The assistant to the regional manager is complaining that you didn't include this person in any of this hurricane prep. And the actual boss, the actual regional manager is going, no, we've already been in conversation. We're good here. The assistant to the regional manager really does not need to be part of this stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's what he flat out did. He gave her a pat on the head.
But even more, though, like the detail of the phone number. Like, I feel like that.
I gave my personal number.
That is the part that I feel like that was the ultimate gouge in the side or gouge in the eye. Because you could have said all of that. You could have said he's doing a good job and never addressed the fact that Kamala's worried about calling him. I've called him. He won't take my call. Joe Biden goes in. He could have just said that DeSantis is doing a good job, but he went a step further to say, we've spoken, and I gave him my personal phone number, meaning he's reaching out to the boss, not the assistant manager.
Write it down. I was wrong. This is the second day in a row where I've pointed out this scenario, and I don't do that very often, even when I am. You ask my wife. But I had pointed out how I thought that when it came to the Joe Biden nomination, they'd have to pry it out of his cold, dead hand. The way it all went down was a big surprise to me. But my entire point about it was Joe has always been about himself. He's always been the narcissist. He's always been the epitome of nasty politician. Here, friendly Joe. Here, look, Joe, Scranton Joe. He's here to help you. But he was always a nasty, mean politician. Now you're seeing it again.
Yeah.
He's showing it up there.
He's being shrewd.
He's
but against his own vice president.
He's doing it against his own vice president. He is still the nasty Joe Biden. It's to our benefit and to our comedy.
Yeah, it is to our benefit, and it is fun to watch. And again, I like that Joe Biden is being strong against the powers that be. He already knows that they're going to turn on him and his family, and whatever they need to blame on him, they will continue to blame on him and offer the new move forward is Kamala Harris and just kind of throw him to the side. They've already done it. He earned every vote, and they've already turned on him. And they removed him. Why? Because they were afraid. They cowered. He thought he could win this. He really did. And you know what? In all honesty, I'm not sure he wouldn't have gotten more attention. I think people would have realized I don't think he could have handled all the campaigning and everything else. So it's all hearsay at this point. But I think people like Joe Biden more than they like Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah.
In all honesty, even his own voters.
I agree with that. I think that's spot on, yeah, man. But the other thing is, it doesn't matter because there's no way of knowing the answer, right? So when she does, if and when she does lose, he's still got the upper hand. He's still got the trump card being able to say, I told you so. Barack Obama, I told you, and you didn't listen. You knew better, except you really didn't, because I could have won. And there's no way to say that he wouldn't. There's no way to go back and say that Barack Obama was wrong, or there's no way to go back and say that Joe Biden wouldn't have won. Now, do we believe he wouldn't have? No. But he's always got that trump card to say, I told y'all. And let me tell you, a good I told you so goes a long way in politics. Morning Extra and Extra 106.3, 8 o'clock hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. Board Up Joe, we good? Okay. The Talkmaster Neil Bortz will join us after headlines.
Oh, he's going to meet with Speakmaster Rhino.
That's right.
That's right, Speakmaster.
That's right. And we're going to take him to the Church of the Painful Truth.
Actually, that's not what we're calling it. It's the Synagogue of the Painful Truth.
That's right. Since we have a Jewish man on the show. We're going with Synagogue of the Painful. I wonder if he'll pick up on it. Because that's what I want to know. I want to know if he'll pick up on it. We'll just
steal all his bits.
Just steal all of his bits. Break them out on him next. On the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. We're on the air until 10.
The Kimmer Show is only live on Extra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home. They're showing that he was a puppet and that she's a puppet. They've showed their hand. It's basically all out in the open now.
The only political party in the history of the world, of any country, anywhere in the world, that's performed a coup against its enemy and its own guy. They performed a coup against Donald Trump and a coup against their own president of the United States.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but the cold air is coming fast. That means a couple different things to me and you. Energy bills will be rising and company coming over for the holidays. Dan Watkins here with all Four Seasons garage, entry doors, and windows. It's time to get your house ready for the winter air and your holiday visitors. The good news is that we have you covered for every opening in your home. So call us today to set up a free estimate with one of our amazing sales consultants. They'll help you pick out the perfect garage door, front door, and windows for your home.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, The Marketing Madmen. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Xtra 106.3.
I've been with EMC Security for over 10 years, and their service and support are always fantastic. There's nothing better than a business that understands that great service earns loyalty, unlike companies that rely on contracts. Plus, their prices are unbeatable, and they're always focused on solving any issues quickly.
It's time to experience long-term satisfaction and true customer care. EMC Security, exceeding customer expectations since 1998. Visit emcsecurity.com for a free quote.
Hey, Atlanta, it's Mark from the Safe House. You need a safe, you just don't know it. And it's Gun Safe Month at the Safe House. Gun sales are at an all-time high. Wherever you store your guns or most prized possessions. Don't let a fire or break-in wipe away years of hard work or destroy items that can't be replaced. Secure your valuables in a quality safe from Atlanta Safe House. With over 500 safes in stock, Atlanta Safe House offers the best selection of gun and home safes in the Southeast, and there's no waiting on a safe. Go to atlantasafehouse.com. That's atlantasafehouse.com.
Get ready for Real Talk on the Janelle King Show, where we tackle kitchen table topics that are banned from family gatherings, but crucial for a strong republic. Tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday for an encore episode at 9 a.m. And if you can catch us live, great. But if not, no worries. New podcasts drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park right here on Xtra 106.3 or wherever you get your podcasts. Join us for insightful conversations that matter.
Years ago, when I first started to feel pain in my hands and my joints, I did what most people did. I masked them, to feel better for a few hours, only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again. Not until about a decade later did I understand that there's a better way. It's called Relief Factor. The good news is, for you, that you don't have to mask your pain anymore. Relief Factor makes it easy to get rid of the pain completely and naturally. Now, they have a 3-week quick start. It's $19.95 for less than $1 a day. Instead of masking the pain, try Relief Factor. Well, it's a unique formula of ingredients that helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors, and it's 100% drug-free. And right now, their 3-week quick start is $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com. Call 800-4-RELIEF. That's 800-4-RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask the pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Wednesday, October 9th. After disappearing in September, former Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade is set to testify in front of the House Judiciary Committee. The panel is expected to investigate Wade's romantic relationship with Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis. Wade will sit before the committee in a closed-door session on October 15th. Rockdale County Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor Kenny Johnson collapsed after delivering testimony during the BioLab chemical fire public hearing. Johnson, who complained of shortness of breath, collapsed in the hallway and was rushed to Grady Memorial Hospital after State Representative Viola Davis administered CPR. Johnson passed away at the hospital. He was 62 years old. And in sports, University of Georgia wide receiver Colby Young was arrested for battery and assaulting an unborn child. The arrest report alleges that Young grabbed his pregnant ex-girlfriend during an argument as she tried to leave his apartment. Young was booked in a Clark County jail at 4:18 a.m. and remains in custody on a $2,500 bond.
The one and only Neil Bortz joins us on the Morning Extra on Xtra 106.3. We often call this show, the synagogue of harmful facts. And we have the Speak Master and the Word Master and the Puddin' Stirrer all the time on this show. And then Neil Bortz tries to join us, and we're glad that he's here. But, I mean, we feel like we've got everything buttoned down pretty good, Neil.
Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa.
Let me start off by asking you this, sir. And again, I'm not looking to
You don't know what in the hell I just said, did you?
I'm getting a good laugh out of this sort of stuff. It's just what it is.
Okay. Anyway, I listen. Yesterday was kind of stressful, and we were at
Yes, can imagine.
And I slept in too late this morning. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And I want to say once again, and I am not blowing smoke up here. Anyway, I'm just damn glad I didn't have to compete against you two, you three, you four. If I had, I would have retired a hell of a lot longer or earlier than I did.
Oh,
that's awesome for you to say. Let me ask you this, because I obviously from going through the last hurricane, not asking you for specifics, but did you cross the state line? Did you get out of Florida? What was the plan for you and the wife?
No.
I'm in Naples.
He's in his shed.
Okay.
He's in his big, beautiful shed, safe. That's a Faraday shed also, is it not? Is that what you said once before?
I could turn it into that very easily, but it is a fortress. It is 2-foot thick walls. It's a steel roof, a very, very heavy 15-foot door, and then, of course, a little human door. But let me tell you what the real shocker is. Now, it's 50 feet by 25 feet by 25 feet. Isn't that interesting? The listeners are going, oh, my God. The real shocker is that when we pulled in here yesterday morning, out of an abundance of caution, Starlink works.
Okay.
Well, what do you mean? Okay. What do you mean? I mean, are you telling me that those Starlink satellites can send the signal through this steel roof to the Starlink antenna on top of this bus?
Apparently, there's not enough copper in there.
When I say okay, I'm like impressed by that. That's like, all right, that's amazing.
It's worth the money, I guess.
You're impressed. God, I was sitting, damn it, I'm going to miss Peppa Pig.
Well, look. See, now you're not. You can watch it right there on your cellular phone.
But so as the cone narrows, I know you people in Atlanta don't want to hear my hurricane stories.
No, I think we do, because that was the first thing my wife asked me. What is Bortz? Is he going to give y'all some sort of update or idea of what's actually happening?
I was curious if you were leaving the state. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen. By 6 o'clock yesterday morning, there had already been fatal accidents on I-75, both going toward Miami and going north, because of this hideous backup on people abandoning their homes, and it between two exits, one exit called Estero and another exit called Vanderbilt Beach. Immokalee. It's about 12 miles. Took 45 minutes for people to cover that distance.
Yeah,
45 minutes.
Even on 75 North here, as soon as you get out, the reports about 75 North from Florida, from Valdosta up and those areas, it's been just stop and go. Even up here in Atlanta, we saw so many people just coming up, Florida license plates, and that's a good thing in my mind. I mean, get out of that area as soon as you can and allow yourself some safety.
Well, people are complaining about people are price gouging. Oh, my God. Price gouging is not politically popular, but it is the economic and social right thing to do.
Okay.
Silence.
Yeah, well,
Silence.
I mean, no, because
Silence.
no, well, I get what you're saying. People risk the dollars. They buy it. They take it down. I watched a whole episode of John Stossel. Do you know John? Or do you know who he is?
I've met and talked with him a couple of times. Sharp guy.
Yeah, absolutely. He did a whole, I don't know, it's probably 15, 20-minute video about why it actually should be allowed, and it allows the free market to work. And of course, when it comes to saying it out loud, people are going to pin you down and say you're awful and you're a capitalist or whatever.
But, I have a good explanation.
Okay.
You have a family in Naples. Okay, it's mom, dad, 3 kids, and a really nasty mother-in-law. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they all pile into the SUV, and they're going to run from the hurricane. So they get maybe to the middle of Georgia, around maybe LaBelle. Maybe they go further than that. Nobody cares. And they pull into a Comfort Inn. And do you have any rooms? Why, yes, we do. How many? You want a room? No, we want 3 rooms. Now, why do they want 3 rooms? Mm-hmm. They want 3 rooms so mom and dad can have some motel sex.
That's just always good. I mean, who doesn't love that?
Okay. Am I talking your language?
Yes, sir, all of a sudden.
Okay. And then they want another room for the kids so they can jump up and down on the bed and have pillow fights. Mm. And then they want to put the old hag in a 3rd room.
Yeah.
And the motel operator is still charging the regular rates, so they take 3 rooms. Then a couple of hours later, after the evacuation really gets going, here comes another family. Do you have any rooms? No, I'm sorry, we're sold out. Mm-hmm. Now, if the motel operator had price gouged, if he'd raised the price, this first family wouldn't have had 3 rooms. They may have had 1. Mom and dad in 1 bed, the kids in another, and the hag on the couch. And, mom and dadders have to sneak whatever they're going to do. And there would be rooms for more families in need. So price gouging, as they call it, would have meant more rooms available for more families. And by the way, the very same analogy applies to flashlight batteries.
Sure. Flashlight batteries, gas, any of it. I mean, if you sit and you fill up every 5-gallon gas container that you have and fill up your trucks or fill up everything you can for the next person that's trying to get their family to safety, it's a problem. Right. So a lot of these things are that way, and I understand.
It is very politically unpopular.
Well, of course it is, and it would be, but it's not politically unpopular when your city is hosting a Super Bowl and all the hotels go up to a certain price.
Example, Rhino.
And then you say, well, it's a hospitality, and it's good for the city.
Yeah, that's right.
Surge pricing.
Same with ball games too, right?
Sure, absolutely. So in those situations, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, but not when people are fleeing a hurricane. Yeah. Now, by the way, Naples looks like it's going to. I think by tomorrow afternoon we're going to open the garage door and drive back to the RV resort. We're still a good 3 or 4 weeks away from getting back into our condo.
Now, how does it look? I mean, Naples, the way that they keep, showing the forecast, it's going right over where you are. But, let's talk about what's going on with Ron DeSantis, how well everybody in Florida is handling this, and how much did you love the fact that Ron DeSantis said, I don't need to worry about Kamala Harris. We got this. It's under control. For her, it's just a political phone call. For me, I got to protect them.
It absolutely was a political phone call, nothing more. She wanted to show her leadership capabilities by talking to the governor of Florida when he's got his hands full trying to. I got a little Ron DeSantis story for you. They got a problem because Hurricane Helene came through here a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
So in many areas, I don't need to name them, but places like Cape Coral and what have you. Which is, middle class. Anyway, in many areas, there's still a lot of debris and garbage and furniture and appliances and dead pets and stuff stacked by the side of the road that they haven't picked up yet. And now here comes a new storm with a new possible storm surge. It's just going to take that stuff and scatter it to the 4 corners of the earth.
We talked about that this morning, Neil.
Yeah, just my big concern.
Yeah, right. And because Carlos has lived through it.
Yeah, so was Bortz.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
hey, Carlos, my man.
But that's the thing, Neil. It's like a lot of people don't recognize that when you have to take out the first 4 feet of your home and you have to put everything out into the street, now that all becomes projectiles. If we're talking 145, 155 mile an hour winds, one of those, a cabinet door becomes deadly.
I know. Well, here's what DeSantis did. He issued an order a couple of days ago. All landfills in Southwest Florida will remain open 24/7. So people can haul debris there and get rid of it. All of them. Pinellas County, Tampa, they locked down their landfill at the end of the business day. And somebody called Ron DeSantis. And so he got a hold of, I don't know, a biker gang or something.
Hell's Angels.
Yes, he said, Hell's Angels and the Cajun Navy, they do a better job than FEMA any day. But they went over there with chains and pickup trucks and hooked chains onto the gates of this landfill on orders of Ron DeSantis, and pulled the gates down so people could get in there and get rid of garbage. And there's Ron DeSantis looking at the Pinellas County leadership and said, go ahead, say something. I dare you, say something.
Nobody's got the courage.
That's the kind of leadership I like. He sees a problem and he says, call out the street gangs, tell them to get those damn gates open.
And
so that won't make it to the national news.
No, because, but you know what's funny is going back to just the conversation about Kamala reaching out to DeSantis and him saying,
I like that you pronounce her name right.
I know it's important to do that. I mean,
you wouldn't want to be called racist.
But because they will. That's what they did on The View yesterday.
I know. And NEAL is not pronounced douchebag.
It depends on who you ask.
It's weird how they keep getting that wrong.
No, but really, though, we've been kind of laughing and joking about it all morning, is that Biden came out and said that DeSantis is doing a great job, right? In spite of
I love that.
Me too.
Yeah.
But the caveat that I see, the thing that stands out to me most is she's talking about how DeSantis won't take her call. And Joe Biden, to put the extra gouge into it, says, I gave him my phone number. We've talked. It's just there's
my
nothing.
Personal number.
That's exactly why there's nothing.
She doesn't even have that number.
Such a slap in the face.
Well, Jill doesn't have that number.
Do you think when Kamala calls the number, if something comes up that says like just BITCH as the name instead of Kamala?
No, I think what happens is that she calls Joe. Could you possibly share DeSantis' phone number with me?
But just that extra little, push
jab.
of the jab.
He's holding a knife and he sticks it in Kamala's back and says, "Here, hold this."
Yeah, and I think
a little.
Well, I think so much this is driven by obviously the way they got rid of him, but then also, let's face it, Jill Biden is not a fan of Harris. And so I think a lot of this is, and that's happened now 2 times in 3 days, Neil, where whatever her biggest thing she's doing, whether it's appearing in Michigan or appearing on The View, he's counter-programming her.
No, I think that Jill may be behind it. Whoever is, I love him. Because, Joe Biden and Jill have come to the conclusion, call it what you will, that this whole thing of pushing him out of the race was engineered by Kamala Harris. And, this was her way of doing what she was so miserably unsuccessful in doing by running in the primaries. So he believes, whether it's true or not, that Kamala Harris, I made a mistake, Kamala Harris is behind all of this, and he dearly wants to see her fail.
Just so he can say, I told you so.
Yeah, I could have won.
And there's nothing proving. There's no way to prove that he's wrong about that. If and when she loses, he's always going to have that trump card. No pun intended.
I'm the only one who beat him.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a marvelous tactic. I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be fascinating for sure.
By the way, have you noticed how far left and anti-Trump the Drudge Report has gone?
I noticed that too.
Well, they were bought out by private equity. I mean, that's happened quite a while back.
Well, Trump is friends with Putin. Look, 8th grade, Irvine Elementary School, Irvine, California, right outside the gates of the El Toro Marine Corps Air Station. First day of school. Now, I'd been there all summer because Dad had been transferred. and there was this kid in the neighborhood named Rusty. And he was a bully, and, I just... what a pain in the butt he was. Anyway, we go to school, and Roy Henry, this is one of the teachers I'll remember, he stands up in front of the class and writes on the blackboard, the best way to get rid of an enemy is to make a friend out of him. Mm-hmm. And when he wrote that down, I looked over at Rusty, and he looked at me and smiled, and we were best friends throughout the remainder of my years in Southern California.
Wow.
That's cool.
And so, look, maybe that is a viable way to deal with Putin.
Well, I think diplomacy is important.
What's the alternative? Yeah, what's the alternative?
What's
Going
the
to war?
alternative? Right. I mean, we see the way they've handled. We know sanctions aren't going to work on them. We know that they have enough resources in order to move things around, in order to say, hey, who cares about the ship you took from an oligarch? The reality of energy, the reality of the wheat product, working with Iran and others, he's not afraid of anything. What Donald Trump did was show strength. I mean, when you stand up there and you can make a deal and say, hey, listen, here's what's going to happen, but if you go this far, we're going to take out the Kremlin. That's a different story rather than just saying, hey, we're going to put a little sanction on you.
Well, some people you might try to bring a bit to your side. Other people, like these weird beards in Iran, and, no, just kill them.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of that school, Irvine Elementary School, I have a little blue dot on my right thigh.
Oh. Well,
right, yeah.
Did you run into like a corner?
It's lead poisoning. Stabbed
this
him.
Hawaiian chick in the 8th grade stabbed me with her pencil when I put my hand on her knee.
I thought maybe just hit the corner and had a little bit.
Yeah, I might have had it coming.
I did have it coming.
Yeah.
And the little blue mark from that pencil is still there. It's a reminder.
Yeah, it's a lead poisoning that will always stay with you. Yeah, my brother has one, too, from when I stabbed him with a pencil.
and on my left pointy finger, I still have a little bruise underneath the fingernail.
Did you slam it in the door?
No, that's where our dog bit me.
Oh.
Well, I'm glad we covered all this. Any other medical things?
I don't want you to be confused, but this isn't a consultation with your doctors here.
You know what? We lost our doggy about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, that's terrible.
Sucks.
Yeah.
That's
and who the hell cares what Stephen King says about anything?
No, that's right. But it was just so funny that he brought that up, is the fact that, DeSantis wouldn't take Kamala's call, and then Joe Biden comes out. Joe Biden comes out and says, "Oh, we had a call, and I gave him my personal number just to twist the knife." Back to that conversation. Just
sorry, Kamala.
That's another thing I love. You calling him Joe Biden.
It's just
Is
funny.
that J apostrophe
yes,
Biden?
Correct.
Joe Biden.
Dude, it's hysterical. It makes me so laugh so hard.
Apostrophes are big now in the hood.
Okay.
Well, they are with Joe Biden.
That's right. It's important.
Joe Biden. Yeah, I love it.
I'm just glad that Neil's been able to get on our couch. We'll send you a bill for this later.
That's right. A large bill, because you have lots of money. And we know
right.
Okay, and remember, while you're watching FEMA take care of this disaster, remember on their website it says our primary goal in fulfilling our mission is diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I'm sure that's going to work out great.
Final thought, though, because I feel like you've dealt with private equity and people that run private equity companies.
Yeah, maybe Apollo.
Yeah, I knew you would do it. Just talking about the Drudge Report, the fact that they're so anti-Trump because they've been outbought by private equity. Neil, we love you. You're always welcome here.
Well, I'm sorry I'm late.
No, that's all right. No, look.
Worth the wait.
Yeah, man. Sometimes in Atlanta traffic, it gets bad. Sometimes we just run late.
I just noted on the internet our favorite breakfast place is open, so we're hopping in the car and heading over there for breakfast.
Well, hopefully they don't price gouge you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's
well, give our best to your wife.
Yes, the queen. Yes,
well,
absolutely.
There's a waitress there. If she wants to gouge me, I got some ideas.
The Synagogue of the Harmful Facts.
Turn your head and cough.
With the Speak Master Word Master. And Neil Boards, too.
Circumcised. No, okay.
What? I
didn't say that.
All right, we've got
I'm
to
Jewish.
Go. We've got to go. We have got to go. This election is not right versus left. It is straight up right versus wrong. Next on the Morning Extra.
The Kimmer Show is only live on Extra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home. They're showing that he was a puppet and that she's a puppet. They've showed their hand. It's basically all out in the open now.
The only political party in the history of the world, of any country, anywhere in the world, that's performed a coup against its enemy and its own guy. They performed a coup against Donald Trump and a coup against their own president of the United States.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Convenience is defined as the state of being able to proceed with something with little effort or difficulty. Well, at RBM of Atlanta, we embody this philosophy. Meet our Mercedes-Benz pickup and delivery service. It gives you back time and money. Does your Mercedes-Benz need service? If so, we'll pick up your vehicle that's requiring service from your home or office and bring it back to our dealership for the required service. With over 100 appointments available every weekday, over 50 appointments on Saturdays, and more than 200 courtesy vehicles in our fleet, we're here to serve. We'll work around your schedule. We're here to save you time, energy, and money. RBM of Atlanta is a J.D. Power 2023 Diamond Dealer of Excellence for the customer sales experience and Georgia's only 9-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best winner. We're proud to be Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964. Pickup and delivery service restrictions do apply. Ask your service coordinator or service advisor for details.
Neil Borch here. Maybe you've already taken the steps to improve your health, maybe save your life. You're using a CPAP for your sleep apnea. I've been using one for well over 20 years. So right now, I'm here to tell you about a source for CPAPs and CPAP supplies here in the Atlanta area. CPAPs, etc. They're in Alpharetta. They have whatever you need. Roddy and Sharon are your CPAP experts, and they'll ship nationwide. More information, CPAPsetc.com.
Looking for bold discussions on vital issues? Tune in to the Janelle King Show every Saturday at 3 p.m. with an encore episode every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3, where we dive into kitchen table topics that are essential for a strong republic. Don't miss an episode, but if you do, it's all good because we have new podcasts that drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss out on these thought-provoking conversations.
My fellow Americans, our yards are in troubled times. Unwanted weeds are crossing fence lines across our great nation, and we need to put a stop to it. No more college football Saturdays spent mowing the lawn. No, sir. Let's turf it with ultra-premium artificial grass from ATL Turf Co. They're Atlanta and North Georgia's first choice for premium turf solutions, from incredible lawns to custom putting greens. Let's make your yard great again with a free consultation at atlturfco.com.
My name is Jamie High, and I have worked for Bruce Hagen for 14 years. Why do I work for Bruce? Because he truly cares. He cares about me, he cares about my family, and he cares about each and every one of his clients. Family is important to him, and he never makes me choose between my family and work. He values me as an employee, but also as a person. At our firm, we are all family, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I am Jamie, and I've worked for Bruce Hagen for 14 years because he's the best. Hagen-law.com.
Extra 106.3 is proud to be your conservative voice in Atlanta, and we offer a huge slate of original podcasts. Head over to thepodcastpark.com and grab the podcast that you love, all presented by Associated Credit Union.
This election is about right versus wrong. It is as simple as that. There's no other way to look at it. And the reason I bring it up is because I read an article out of Newsweek, which is never a good idea to begin with. And it was about Hamas and their key wins in the war against Israel 1 year later. And I thought, how disgusting. How disgusting is it to write this article to begin with? But then on the 1 year anniversary of this horrible, horrible way of just killing people in mass. And I just really couldn't believe what I was reading. And they called it an exclusive, their success against Israel. And I can't even imagine someone having the thought to even consider writing a piece of crap like this after this massacre of innocent civilians. But that's what we're up against. And that's why I say that this is no longer Republican versus Democrat. This is no longer right versus left. This is all about right versus wrong. And Newsweek is on the wrong side of history. Those people that are protesting in front of college campuses, or were, I've not seen it much lately. I know it's happening, but not as much as I thought. That is wrong. They're on the wrong side of history. And it sickens me to see it and imagine anyone capable of writing Hamas's key wins versus Israel. It is almost unimaginable. And here's the other thing, and my final thought here is the fact that Israel is doing a service to the people that live on this planet. And we need to get out of the way and let them finish the job because they are getting it done.
Hezbollah's ready for a ceasefire.
Yeah.
Again.
All of a sudden.
They're asking for it.
Yeah.
They're asking for it.
Please.
Now, I don't understand why you don't.
And I hope Israel says hell no.
I hope so, too. I don't understand why you don't understand why Newsweek is doing this. Think about what we dealt with the heads of some of the Ivy League schools and the anti-Semitism they showed and didn't support Jews. They graduate these people to become columnists or opinionists that write these kind of articles.
You're right.
So I wish I was with you in the fact that I can't believe it was happening, but we've seen it so much now that it's just reality now that we don't have journalists anymore who are looking at the right side of things.
Right. I guess I just don't understand how... When they'll say, well, you know, I'm anti-Zionist. I'm like, you're basically anti-Semitic. How did this become such a prevalent belief within the far left? Like, considering that when it comes to the Jewish population, you'll have about 80% that vote Democrat. How did it become popular amongst especially the young people? And even there's even people my age that I follow on Facebook that I've known from college where I'll see them post stuff that is legitimately anti-Israel and think, how did this become something that was prevalent within your side of the aisle?
What I think happens is people don't realize what the party is and has become. I told y'all, my mama thought she was a Democrat until like 5 or 6 years ago.
Right.
And still to this moment, like we'll be talking and she'll go back to something and she'll say, you know what, something Clinton did was good. And I'm like, Mama, well, let's talk about that. Let's make sure we know what we're discussing. Make sure we know the policy was implemented and what caused, you know, what was the reaction to doing it. So I really do believe that sometimes people don't know what the party actually stands for because it's such a tradition to vote that way.
I'll give you maybe reasoning behind it. You guys tell me what you think. Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, Jayapal, AOC, Rashida Tlaib. These are people who are anti-Semitic that are calling for the genocide of Jews that sit and were elected by the young progressives. They're seen as the young. So I think people fall into this trap because they look at these leaders, they voted these leaders in, they think they're young and they're new and they're, shaking it up, and they tell you one thing, they lie, they said, and then you become a part of it. I think 30% of the people are like this, and some of them happen to be Newsweek columnists. I guarantee that a lot of the older journalists or propagandists or opinionists, whatever you want to call them, in media don't agree with what Newsweek wrote.
Well, I get Ilhan Omar. I get from her background, where she is in the part of the world, what her constituency is. I get why she would come across as decidedly anti-Israel. I don't understand how some random Florida Democrat is.
Or some kid on a college
right?
campus.
It's like when you're talking about a constituency that is largely Jewish retirees. Like how
I don't get it.
That mentality.
I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't get it. And largely, again, I grew up in an area that was for our area of San Antonio was predominantly that was the Jewish area, and so I guess I always thought that everybody was exposed to how I grew up. Wasn't until I went to college and I was looking around. I'm at a private Methodist university, and I'm like, "Where are the Jewish people?" They're like, "You're at a private Methodist university, dude." Like it's like I didn't know that when I was growing up. So I don't understand the mentality of how you go from the idea that these are part of your party to these are the enemy of all of humanity.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And when Donald Trump says, if you're Jewish and you're voting for these people, you have to have your head examined, I 100% agree. I'm not saying don't vote Democrat. What I'm saying is don't vote for the people who support a terrorist group and continue to show their support for terrorism throughout this country.
It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's not left versus right. It has become right versus wrong. That's what it boils down to. And when I read articles like this from Newsweek, it just stirs my soul and makes me question humanity. And I hope it does you too, because it should. When you read something this vile, it should make you question. And I hope you will, and I hope you'll push back, and I hope you'll get out and vote and make a difference for your future, but more importantly, for the future of your kids and grandkids. Morning Xtra and Extra 106.3. 4 more years of Kamala Harris means 4 more years of bad times for you, and the cycle will continue.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Conspiracy theories. Hey, I'm no stranger to conspiracy theories. I'm the guy on the radio that said dolphins had swum up the torpedo tubes of a nuclear submarine and they were going to nuke Los Angeles. But I followed that radio show with 2 words: April Fools. But the conspiracy theories today are just ridiculous. Who are the idiots that buy into these things? First and foremost, the earth is flat. No, seriously. If you're on Facebook, look up some of the flat earth Facebook pages. The earth is flat. It's surrounded by a wall of ice and covered by a dome. The sun is only 4,000 miles away. How do they know this? It's all in the Bible. The firmament in the Bible is actually that glass dome over the flat earth. We call them flurfs. Here's a new one. That teacher from New England that died in the Challenger disaster, oh, she's not dead. She's now a professor in a law school up there in New England. The whole Challenger thing was faked. How do we know? Because the earth is flat. That's how we know. Those condensation trails that jet airliners leave, those are chemtrails. They're chemicals that the government is putting in the air to poison us and control us. There was never a moon landing. It was faked. All of the pictures of Earth taken from space, they're fake. Try this one. Birds aren't real. They're actually small drones being operated by the government to keep an eye on us. No, not kidding. The trouble with these things is that people actually believe them. And if they will believe those, they'll believe slanderous lies like Alex Jones and school shootings. And 9/11 was an inside job. Come on, folks, do some homework. Don't let idiots with internet connections steer you into this insanity. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Are you planning for your big day? Are you picking out the venue, the cake, the menu, the dress, the tux? And you can't forget about those wedding bands. Well, you're in luck because Wedding Band Weekend is back at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. October 25th through the 27th is the best time to save big on those wedding bands that you'll say I do with. During Wedding Band Weekend at Solomon Brothers Jewelers, when you buy her band, you get his for free. And to make your purchase even easier, we're offering 60 months interest-free financing on all of the top wedding band designers in the industry. That's 5 years to not worry about paying for those beautiful rings that symbolize your commitment. And remember, no matter the price, you'll find something nice. So come visit us October 25th through the 27th to shop for your wedding bands in Buckhead on Peachtree Road, Alpharetta Old Milton Parkway, and Sharpsburg on Highway 34 and Fisher Road, or online at SolomonBrothers.com.
From the latest breaking news to the conservative voices you know and trust, your best new follow on social media is Extra 106.3. We're at XTRA 106.3 on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, and LinkedIn, and pretty much any social media you scroll through every day. And we drop exclusive giveaways, new daily content, and the latest breaking news from Georgia and across this great nation. Interact with your favorite Extra personalities. Get the latest on our live events and so much more. Follow at Extra 106.3 across all your social media and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice. WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented.
They don't
have much time left to prepare. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Please get out of the way of the storm.
Hurricane Milton keeps closing in, and Congressman Byron Donalds just told Fox.
Everything we are seeing is life-threatening storm surge in Southwest Florida.
Many have evacuated from the Tampa region down to Fort Myers, leaving a lot of stores with bare shelves and gas stations with empty tanks.
This is a monster of a hurricane.
It's just under a Category 5 right now with 155-mile-an-hour max winds. Fox Weather's Britta Merwin is in Sarasota near boarded-up buildings. It could get a direct hit from Milton.
I mean, we're expecting downtown Sarasota to look like it has never looked. This is the strongest storm that they have had in more than 100 years.
It's forecast to hit late tonight into early tomorrow. Hezbollah's fired more rockets across the border from Lebanon, killing 2 Israelis. Ahead of a call today between President Biden and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
As Israel expands its airstrikes to include Damascus, Syria overnight, Israel reportedly targeted a building used by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps and Hezbollah commanders. In the Dahiyat neighborhood of Beirut in Lebanon continues to get pummeled by Israeli airstrikes as well.
Fox's Nate Foy in Tel Aviv. Israel's also conducting a new offensive against Hamas militants in Gaza with dozens of Palestinians killed. Former President Trump will campaign in Pennsylvania with a rally tonight. Vice President Harris did some friendly, high-profile media interviews, sharing a beer with Stephen Colbert on the CBS Late Show.
There are a lot of folks who are just saying, enough of the rhetoric that's about trying to divide the country and have Americans point their fingers at each other.
Harris told The View there's nothing she can think of she'd have done different than President Biden. It's out with more of the old in Las Vegas. Those are fireworks early this morning above the Tropicana, an iconic old hotel and casino that opened 67 years ago that came down with an implosion. The Tropicana down in seconds in a giant ball of dust. They plan to build a new Major League Baseball stadium at the site of the Tropicana as the A's move out of Oakland. America's listening to Fox.
If your approach to everyday aches and pains is to mask them, feel better for a few hours only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again, it's time to try Relief Factor. And the good news is Relief Factor makes that easy. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it. How? Well, its unique formula of ingredients helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors. It's 100% drug-free, and for so many people, the results are game-changing, even life-changing. So give it a try. Right now, their 3-week quick start is just $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
Hey, gang, it's your old friend Neil Bortz. You can catch me every Tuesday morning here on the Morning Extra. Now back to Tug, Rhino, and Carlos on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Download the Extra 106.3 app so you can listen live and on demand to great conservative discussion, thoughts, and ideas. If you missed the Talkmaster, Neil Bortz, he was on a little later than normal.
And on fire.
I mean, he was calling out left and right people and behaviors, and he even made me blush once. So if you want to hear what he had to say, go back and listen to it on the Extra 106.3 app. It'll be available.
Never heard him talk about a waitress in that way, but I'm glad he did.
Not with the queen sitting next to him. Good Lord. I mean, that's a great man.
I love that Neil treats us as the guys in the clubhouse.
Yeah, me too.
Because there's only certain things you'll talk about with the guys in the clubhouse that you'll never say in front of your wife.
That's right.
Like you would never admit to your wife, man, your friend is really hot. But you'll tell your boys, hey, my wife's friend is hot.
Oh, she's a smoke show. Absolutely. And you can be completely in love with your wife and
acknowledge.
But you can't help but notice that she's good looking. I mean, that's just it.
Like, that chick is fire.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know what you want from me. My eyes and ears don't let me down.
I do the pretend that I don't see it until Erin says something. She'll be like, wow, look at her. And I'll be like, oh, I didn't see her there. Wow.
You're right.
She does have a nice butt.
She is a smoke show.
We did have this scenario play out over at the high school where my daughter is going to, where all the parents were talking about this one particular person, and I was never around. I was like, I don't know what y'all are talking about. So I came across as like the dumb guy who doesn't notice anything.
Yeah.
And all the dads are looking at me like, seriously, dude, you don't know? I'm like, no, I haven't. And then I was like late to the show. I was like, okay, now I get it.
I
get it.
I
was like, all of you guys.
So you were
all
serious.
Right.
Like I totally fake it.
I just missed it.
I never saw it.
I was never there when our team was there at the same time as some of the other teams and some of the other stuff. So like when they're telling me about, oh yeah, you should see this person over on this, this coach of this other high school. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
And she wears these yoga pants.
And then it turned into, okay, I totally get what y'all are talking about.
But here's the thing, women do it too.
Oh, yeah.
They absolutely do it too.
The moms were doing the same thing.
That's exactly right.
They were like, she's so gorgeous.
Men, but I'm talking about men.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about men. They talk about dudes the exact same way that men talk about women. It's no different. It's human nature, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But the difference is dudes don't get mad about it.
No, I don't. In fact, I do kind of like Aaron. I'll be like, wow, he's beautiful. Like, he's a good looking dude.
That's a good looking dude.
And, and then she'll be like, yeah, he is, or whatever. But yeah, they do the same exact thing. And that's 100%. Why, we can all pretend that we don't. But
if you vote for Kamala Harris, which I don't expect there will be very many people listening to this show right now that are going to vote for Kamala Harris. But if you were to, it's going to be more of the same. Even though there's a sliver of the electorate that sees her as the change, which I cannot wrap my head around. She went on The View yesterday and said, I'm not the change. I'm exactly what you've been getting for the last 4 years. But what's going to happen, though? 4 more years of this, and none of our pocketbooks, Rhino, can handle it.
No, I don't think any of our pocketbooks can handle it. I don't think any of our families can handle it, and I don't think our kids will be able to handle a future if she were to be elected for 4 more years. This is allowing illegals to attack our sovereignty and our families, and then allowing them to spend our money on those. There's always been an attack on capitalism by her and everyone else. When she talks about price controls, when she talks about attacking corporate rates, when she talks about taxing certain groups, that's the problem. When she lies about capping insulin for seniors at $35, the reality of everything that she said is she's either copying Trump's policies, which we've seen, or her economic destruction and her saying that, yeah, no, I did the same exact thing as Joe Biden did. We understand where we are today. We understand that most people are afraid of the economy because even when they talk about the debt in this country, we're talking about adding $1.8 trillion for 2024. It would have been over $2 trillion, except for, thank God, we have Republicans who said, you can't just relieve student debt and put it on the taxpayers. And then they found out it was unconstitutional, because if not, we would have been over $2 billion or $2 trillion in deficit this year. That's the kind of economic policy she will use.
I think it's very simple. Try something different. As much as these people want to celebrate what the 401ks look like, when you're talking about, on average, 25 to 30% of the cost of goods and services, wages don't keep up with that. A lot of companies out there will give you a regular 2 to 3% cost of living increase.
And then the inflation's 18, 19, 20%.
But when it's 20, 25%, you're just not keeping up with this. Yet they're still telling you, things are good. No, it's not.
No, they will argue to no end.
Until we have negative inflation.
My Aunt Peg will argue to no end how good things are and then complain about things being expensive at the grocery store. And
it's ridiculous.
I quit arguing because it's going nowhere, talking in a circle, and she will defend it and defend it. And then I love the fact that you brought up
like a cult.
Yes, very similar to that. But I love the fact that y'all brought up 401ks, because that is always the go-to. Look at your 401k. Okay, that's all good and well, but if everything is 25 to 50% higher, then just cut that number in half, because that's what you could actually buy.
They don't understand. Well, they do understand.
No,
I can't say they don't understand.
They're just playing a game.
They understand. The people who are, supporting them either don't understand or won't do the research into this. When you're dealing with the past 4 years of record inflation, record numbers, and then lying about the job reports, lying about the amount of manufacturing jobs you created, and lying about everything else, and then taking pandemic response completely out to blame your predecessor for things that were out of his control. But then you go ahead and talk about, hey, this this is where we're at today with record high inflation and interest rates. And the reason that our debt and deficit is going to get worse is because we got to keep paying these high interest rates because of policies that Joe Biden put in place that you now admitted on The View that you followed right along with, and you wouldn't change a thing. But the thing that you will change is adding even more. So when you say you're going to build 3 million homes, I mean, look, I've never built a home for $1, so I know they're going to cost more than $1. So add up that money. If you want to say they're 100,000, 200, but we know the government pays for it, so let's just say 500,000 times that by 3 million. Then say $25,000 of money given to each person who is a first generation or first time home buyer, and then $50,000 out of our pockets for small business loans. How much do you think that equates to adding to the debt? It makes no sense whatsoever. And then, of course, the interest rate on top of that. Now, the truth is, when you don't pay the $25,000 back to the government, they're going to take your home. When you don't pay the $50,000 in small business loans, which is even more than buying a home, which actually is ridiculous at this point, seeing that most small businesses fail, who's going to pay that back? The American people are going to then pay back all of that and forgive those loans to the bank. This is a joke of an administration that is throwing out these hopes and dreams that make no sense whatsoever.
She's offering you more of the same. That's all.
And now, she outright said it.
And worse.
And what is wild about it is that when some of the polling's been out there, and you know what? I put a lot of this on not ignorance. It really comes down to the fact that people did not know exactly who she is. You know, she largely skated. She got out of the 2020 election well before you ever had a chance to get to know her. She wasn't even polling at 1%. She got out of there. By the time she's vice president, she's largely taken a back seat. And so when people were associating her with change, she'll be the change candidate. And then you find out, no, it's just more of the same. I think she spent all day yesterday basically shooting herself in the foot for any of those voters that were thinking to themselves, hey, she's going to bring... The ladies that you'll always hear like, I'm for her, a woman running this country, and it's going to be different. She's going to bring change. No, she's just going to do the same thing that's been going on.
Yeah, give me an example of what way there will be change except for spending more, like Rhino just said.
The only change is adding more or more promises. Empty promises really is what they are. Can I ask you guys a question? Because maybe I'm not recollecting correctly, but when this entire farce of administration took office in January of 2021 and they signed away all our energy independence and changed the direction of this country, weren't people complaining, including Kamala Harris and her aides, that she's not been given enough to succeed, that she hasn't been given enough tasks for her
responsibilities?
I do recall that, yes. Wasn't that the talking point of some of the people who were defending her on the left? I might be completely wrong.
No,
I'm asking a legitimate question.
No, the problem that happened early on, because I remember specifically that they were trying to put her in positions to succeed. The problem was that whenever she got out into public and started talking to people, everyone went, what the hell? Like that hasn't changed.
Well, they were trying to hide her too, right?
Well, not even so much. It was, remember, your job as VP is I'm supporting the administration. I'm supposed to be the happy face person.
Right.
I'm
break the vote.
I'm the backup quarterback. I'm here to break up the, I'm the fun one. And they tried to push her out that way. And I remember pretty quickly early on, it turned into, we can't put her out in front of people. Like they made her border czar.
The water side.
And when she started talking about it, it just wasn't working.
Sure.
I've never been to Europe either. And then she said stupid things like that, and you knew why they didn't put her out in front of people.
Yeah.
Because they asked her, why have you not gone to the border as border czar? Or that's not a title, as the person trying to get to the root causes of all this illegal immigration, why have you not gone to the border? Well, I've not gone to Europe either.
Yeah.
What?
Or you come out and
what
you start telling...
What the hell's that got to do with anything?
Yeah, then you come out and treat every constituent you have as they're the biggest idiots in the world, and maybe some of your constituents are. But when you come out and say, let me tell you about Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine's a smaller country and Russia's a bigger country that's next to Ukraine. Like, we don't need that kind of conversations from you. It's ridiculous and it's word salads, and it didn't make you look good. She's been unfavorable all the way up into the point where they said, hey, you must get behind Kamala Harris. You must get behind her. That's the only time she's ever become popular in her entire career.
Morning Xtra and Xtra 106.3. And all of these outlets have done their very best during their softball interviews to not expose her for exactly what she is. This happened over on CNN. And You know what? I think we learned exactly what we needed to learn by her media blitz.
So after she was done with The View, CNN decided to air that portion of what she would decide to change. Now remember, this is a layup. If I'm going to ask you, based on you being in the administration the last 4 years, and you are trying to basically create a little bit of space between yourself and Joe Biden, all right, what would you change that has gone on in the last 4 years? That's a pretty basic question. Like, I would have a stock answer in my mind. Remember, this is a woman that went through so much debate prep so that she could just rattle off one speech after the next at you without ever really getting in any kind of content. Take a listen to CNN as they recognize she had an opportunity, and this is how bad she fumbled it.
I'm surprised, frankly, that she doesn't have more to say about this, given that she and her campaign know that this is one of the main questions that voters have about her. And one of the main things she's been trying to establish as part of her candidacy is the idea that she would represent a break from the past 4 years, and to not be able to come up with something to say in that moment. She continues to not be particularly nimble on her feet in a lot of these interviews, and this is a very obvious question that gave her an opportunity, frankly, to differentiate herself in a way that would have made news, that would have answered, I think, the curiosity of a lot of voters who want to know how she would lead differently. And she's not very specific in laying that out, and she can't point to a decision she would have made differently, which, in an electorate that thinks that doesn't like the way this administration has led and that doesn't like the track that the country is on, that may not be a very satisfactory answer.
Yeah, I guess not.
They're dumbfounded. They're like, you were given a layup.
And you couldn't hit. They set it on a tee, and you couldn't hit it off the tee.
You're supposed to kill that question.
But how are they dumbfounded by this? I mean, were they not there in 2019 watching her run for presidency and being thrown out? Why have they been so blind to this for so long? Why did you fall for the lies that Joe Biden is perfectly fine? He's better than ever. Why do you fall for the lies from Kamala Harris and the things she says? They are complicit in this. I don't feel sorry for CNN, CBS, ABC, or any of the ones that have to edit any of the comments she says in order to try to get her elected, because they are working for her at this point. They can make fun of the mainstream media all they want. They're the ones that are pushing this campaign on ridiculous ideas like that.
The machine told you for the better part of 3.5 years that Joe is extremely sharp. You shouldn't question him. He's incredibly bright, incredibly intelligent. Yeah, you know what? He's functional between 10 and 4, but don't worry about that.
That's all good.
And then the debate happened, and that was out the window. Yesterday was another example of how right now Kamala Harris has Donald Trump on her left flank, and she's got Joe Biden on her right flank. And so she's in this weird position of, well, I can't really criticize what we've been doing because I'm as part of this as possible. Remember, he tethered her to him 2 days ago.
She continues to do it too, which is
I think there's something.
She goes back and forth, doesn't she?
But that's the problem she's run into. It's that everyone has built her into the change candidate, and she's a revelation. She's this new way forward. We're gonna turn the page. She's greatness. And then they got her up on stage yesterday and went, no, she's none of those things.
No, I'm just the same.
Well, why would they do that?
The same.
Either they're realizing through polls that more people love Joe Biden on their side than they do Kamala Harris, and they're afraid of losing that support. What is the other reasoning behind it other than that? She's obviously going after a certain group. The people that she chose to do interviews with yesterday, they don't seem to be the groups that she's losing. When you're losing black males, I don't think you're going to find them. You may find them on Howard Stern, but you're not going to find them on The View, and you're not going to find them on Colbert. And I don't think you're going to find them on Stern anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't even think Stern, but that would be the most obvious.
That would be the most obvious out of them.
A male-driven show, but Stern has neutered himself so much, I don't know that dudes even pay attention to him anymore. And it's not like there's ratings to go along with it to see who actually listens. It's just paid for.
She's saying anything she can to get elected at this point.
Right,
because
of course.
When you sit there and say, hey, we've got a new path forward, like you guys said, the turn the page, this, and then you say, no, same as usual, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're giving mixed messages about every single thing you've done. You're the border czar. I was in charge of that. I was in the room for everything. Well, I'm not responsible for the withdrawal. I'm not responsible for the border, but you just said you were. You do the same exact things that you've done. Here's what you've done over the past 3.5 years. So we should expect in the next 4 years, this is exactly how the country's going to run, except now you're adding even worse policy in.
This is not Barack Obama, where he was the catch-all. Like I said, he was the bucket by which you could put all of whatever you wanted into him. You want hope, you want change, you want progress. I'll be all of these things for you, and I'll do it in this very solid package. She's trying to do the same thing, but she just can't articulate anything.
No, she's a bad candidate.
She's a terrible candidate.
And they know it.
Like, I ain't afraid of her one bit.
I'm
afraid of the Democrat machine. I ain't afraid of her one bit. I'm like, please, as I've been saying for months, let her talk. The more she talks, the easier it is to win in November.
And yesterday was a prime example of just that. When we continue on Extra 106.3, Janelle King joins us to talk about the things going on at the Georgia State Elections Board and the fact that they have subpoenaed evidence from Fulton County for 2020's election. Boy, howdy, this thing is about to get real interesting. As if it's not already. It's been fascinating to watch from afar to this point. But this subpoena, this next level, I can't wait to hear what Janelle has to say. I've said it before, I trust her more than I trust anybody else to do the work of the people of the state of Georgia. And she joins us next to discuss it. We'll also knock out the headlines on Extra 106.3, 9 o'clock hours, brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your Atlanta solution for exteriors since 1999. They service Atlanta and the entire Southeast because they're big enough to do that. They're like a small company that is able to do extraordinary work. And you can reach out to them at 8779 southernexteriors.co.
Why is it that only white columnists are the only ones ever held responsible for taking somebody else's stuff when every race, creed, color on this planet has done it 1,000 times?
Well, because we're the white people.
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Doug Moore is a health insurance broker at yourchoicehealthplan.net. He believes your health insurance premiums should not look like a mortgage payment. You don't have to overpay for health insurance. He sells private insurance with no deductibles and no rate increases. These plans are typically 30 to 60% less than what you're paying and don't need to change doctors. He customizes all plans to meet your budget. Don't fret. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net. He can save you big money. Call Doug Moore at 770-697-0100. That's 770-697-0100. Don't fret. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net. If your payment is too high, you're on COBRA, or your work coverage is too expensive, call Doug, 770-697-0100. You don't have to have government marketplace insurance that's crazy expensive. Don't fret. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net and request a quote. Call 770-697-0100 and let Doug design a plan for you, not by big government.
The future of business in Georgia is bright, and Georgia Power is a driving force behind the businesses and organizations that are vital to the growth of the state. Organizations like Georgia Tech.
Hi, this is Jay Batten, Director of Athletics here at Georgia Tech. This is an incredible place. The history of success, the coaches that have been here, everybody from Heisman to Coach Dodd to Coach Curry to Coach Ross, and even now to Coach Key. We've got this tremendous history of success. This is an anchor here in Midtown Atlanta. This is such a growing, vibrant market, particularly for college sports. You know, Atlanta has one of the highest percentages of college sports fans for any major metro. The work being done over my shoulder is a first of many steps towards our continued evolution towards the very highest level and reestablishing Georgia Tech athletics at that championship caliber. We continue to invest in the fan experience here in Bobby Dodd.
To learn more about how Georgia Power is helping businesses big and small, visit GeorgiaPower.com and tune in all year to discover how they're powering the future of Georgia.
While fall temperatures are cooling down, the action in the stadium and on the field is really heating up. If you find yourself in hot water from too much celebrating during the game, it's important to know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we handle bonds from the Battery to the Bends, and even for those who celebrate action between the hedges. At A Second Chance, we can have you or your loved one out of jail in a matter of hours. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT. That's 404-BAIL-OUT, or online at atlbail.com.
I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but the cold air is coming fast. That means a couple different things to me and you. Energy bills will be rising and company coming over for the holidays. Dan Watkins here with all Four Seasons garage, entry doors, and windows. It's time to get your house ready for the winter air and your holiday visitors. The good news is that we have you covered for every opening in your home. So call us today to set up a free estimate with one of our amazing sales consultants. They'll help you pick out the perfect garage door, front door, and windows for your home.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, The Marketing Madmen. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 106.3.
You know the old expression, I love it when a plan comes together? Well, with our First Liberty Notes, this has been so true. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about our family's company all the time right here on the station. For over 30 years, we've been the local lender who said yes when the big banks say no. A couple of months ago, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Folks from airline pilots to physicians to even pastors are now earning 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of local small businesses. If you're a qualified investor with a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. Go to firstlibertyga.com and see if our First Liberty Notes are right for you. Go to firstlibertyga.com. That's firstlibertyga.com.
First Liberty Notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. SEC accredited investor status must be verified. Securities not offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Wednesday, October 9th. After disappearing in September, former Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade is set to testify in front of the House Judiciary Committee. The panel is expected to investigate Wade's romantic relationship with Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis. Wade will sit before the committee in a closed-door session on October 15th. Rockdale County Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor Kenny Johnson collapsed after delivering testimony during the biolab chemical fire public hearing. Johnson, who complained of shortness of breath, collapsed in the hallway and was rushed to Grady Memorial Hospital after State Representative Viola Davis administered CPR. Johnson passed away at the hospital. He was 62 years old. And in sports, University of Georgia wide receiver Colby Young was arrested for battery and assaulting an unborn child. The arrest report alleges that Young grabbed his pregnant ex-girlfriend during an argument as she tried to leave his apartment. Young was booked in a Clark County jail at 4:18 a.m. and remains in custody on a $2,500 bond.
Morning Extra and Extra 106.3, 9 o'clock hours brought to you by Southern Exteriors, 8779 Southern. SouthernExteriors.co is their website. They do good work, and I fully recommend them. Hope you'll give them a call if you need anything done to the exterior of your home. It is always a good day when Janelle King joins us in studio here on the Morning Extra, and she does now. How are you, ma'am?
I'm great. How are y'all?
Good. It's so great to see you. And
finally classied up the joint.
That's
now.
right. Absolutely. I mean, we've gone.
I know it's so boy in here.
I know, right?
So boy.
We need a lady's touch, and that's why it's always great to have you in here.
Rhino and I try our best, but we're just not lady enough.
We should have switched your seat so that YouTube didn't have to look at us instead of the back of your head and see.
Maybe one day we'll get
one day.
I don't have any makeup on. It's good. We're good. This
Okay, there you go.
You would still way look better than anybody else in the entire building. For
Thank
you. No, but the things that are going on down at the Georgia State Election Board is unbelievable, and that's why I think it's great to have you on, because you can give everybody a true look at what's happening versus what the AJC says versus what any of the mainstream media outlets say, because you're hands-on, you're dealing with it, and most recently the subpoena of Fulton County for those documents. The documents for the 2020 election.
Yeah, no. So, first, yeah, you're right. I got into a little bit of a back and forth with the AJC at the meeting because they didn't want to be a journalist, right? They want to be a gossip site. They want to debate you on air. I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
They're Mad Magazine.
Right? I like that. Yeah. But no, so with Fulton County, the issue we have with them is that they have been found to have obviously done some wrong things, and that's where the letter of reprimand came from before I joined the board. But a part of that was that they had to put together a monitoring team that had to be agreed upon between the SEB board, the SOS, and Fulton County. Well, they don't want to do that. They want to create their own lists. They want to approve their own monitoring team. They have members on there that I've received over 1,000 opposition letters from the public saying, I do not want this individual a part of the monitoring team. I don't trust him. And that's Ryan Germany. I mean, he was the Secretary of State's attorney during the 2020 election. And the public has a right to feel like there's a bit of a conflict there. So we said, well, how about this? How about you guys have your list, take our list, combine it, and now the entire monitoring team is made up of people from different perspectives, right? That sees it differently, and you kind of create a checks and balance. They didn't want to do that either.
No, you mean like bipartisan wise?
No,
so,
no.
Let me ask you this. As a citizen here in the state of Georgia, okay, you know, you have your job to do and what you're doing, and what I'm watching from the outside, all I see is Sarah and some of the others that are out there, Kathy Woolard. What I'm seeing as a citizen is they don't want to open this up for us to be able to look at. They don't want transparency. And as a citizen, I'm looking and saying, well, why wouldn't they want transparency? That means that when we say we saw 3,000 ballots that were double counted, and this is a way to make sure that doesn't happen again, they don't want that to happen. So for me, it looks like, well, they're trying to find a way to keep cheating in place. That's the way I see it as a citizen.
You know what, for me, I look at it like I think that they determine what transparency is. The problem I feel like we're running in is, and this is just from my observation, is that you have individuals who think they know better than everybody else. And that's what's frustrating. My back and forth with Sarah on yesterday was because, you know, she walks into the meeting late and or whatever time, and it's after you sign up for public comments, and then she's signaling to our chairman and like, you know, can I get 2 minutes for my public comments? No, you cannot. You know why? Because the public got up early in the morning, they came here on time, they followed the rules, and I get tired of this whole notion that just because you're elected, you somehow get special privileges. That makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
So she was already annoyed with that, and because I was just like, I'm not going to support that. No. But the point I'm making is I think that there are people who believe that they know what's best for everyone else. You know, I think it's best for you that we move on. I think it's best that we don't talk about these things. But I'm like, how is that what's best when we have an election that no one trusts? We have to do something. We got to stop the bleeding.
It's not what's best for me or other constituents, Los.
Right.
Janelle King is our guest on the Morning Extra. Now, granted, I'm a crazy person. Moon landing, aliens, all that sort of stuff. How much has this process...
Boy, have we changed you?
I've always been into aliens.
How much is this process and serving on this board and seeing, you know, basically how the product's made, how much has this kind of changed you to have you question as many things you now do?
Oh man, it's changed me a lot. It's funny. So I'm like you, right? Like I am totally into the UFO stuff. Matter of fact, I have something to watch that I have saved, a new UFO report. But anyway,
hey, Navy pilots are up there saying there's something going on.
Yeah, the only one that's not convinced anymore is Tug.
It's just Tug. Tug's the only one.
You gotta come around, Tug.
I'm just saying there's not little green people. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying there's nothing.
I don't think they're little green people.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think they're gray.
I do believe we have findings to have real footage of Sasquatch. But anyway, so we
see right there in the back of mine. I got pictures.
But when it came to the election, I was one of those people who felt like, you know what, let's move on, right? I'm like, I don't know if we're ever going to find out, but I don't want us to, like, you know, jack everything up in the process. But since being on the board, I understand now why people can't move on. See, there's a difference, right? There's not that everyone wants to spend all these hundreds of thousands of their dollars of their personal money and all their time. It's just that whenever they try to find out whether or not what they believe is factual or not, they get met with opposition. I feel like I go into these board meetings and I got to fight every single moment. It is the little things, you know? It's the, well, maybe we can't do this. Everything's outside of our purview. If you listen to the opposition on the board, we wouldn't be able to do anything.
It's
We'll
always
just be
we
sitting
can't.
there.
It's always
Everything
we
is
can't.
We can't.
And that's the thing that I think is irritating for Georgia voters, because nobody believes that we're going to go back and change anything that happened, right? It just is what it is. You can like it or love it or hate it altogether. It doesn't matter. But we don't want it to happen again.
No, you know, Kelvin gave the best analogy this morning. He was like, y'all are performing espionage. He said, it's not. He said, because what you realize is that there's a cut, it got infected. And I told Kelvin, I said, I'm trying to stop the infection from spreading. I'm not trying to go back and figure out what caused the cut. I'm not trying to go back and figure out, you know, if we can relitigate it and change it and start it all over with. Because you can't. The cut is there. So that's where we are.
You know, and it is one of those things. We were joking about it. And in fact, I think I was showing Tug the other day, this woman holds up and she stands up and goes, "This is 1,879 ballots." And I go, "Well, how do you know unless you counted them?" Right?
Yeah,
I mean, and then she's complaining about counting ballots. Here's what we're asking, right? I mean, we're asking that ballots get counted to make sure they match machine totals. We make sure that we have both sides, a bipartisan group that is able to watch polls, make sure that everything is going correctly. We want to put a sign up out front, much like a gun-free zone sign, except we want it to say, "Non-citizens, you're not allowed to vote," just to kind of remind people what is so evil about looking for keeping our election safe for both sides of the aisle.
It's nothing's wrong with that, you know. Like I said, the people who are upset about it typically are people who probably, I'm going to assume, can find a way to benefit in the chaos. You know, most of us can't function in this chaos. I actually watched, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a tidbit, and you'll get to see it at some point. But I watched them individual perform our hand count rule. She counted, 3 people counted 758 ballots 3 times in under 30 minutes. So I'm trying to figure out how this is going to delay anything. I'm trying to figure out how any of these assumptions that our Secretary of State is claiming is going to actually happen. It's not going to happen. I was on WAOK, you know, which is a pretty Democrat, you know, station, and a caller called in and said, you know, "Hey, are you saying that now I only going to count 300 ballots because I was using that as the average?" And I said, no. I said, you'll count all the ballots on election day. She said, "Because we already do that in our precinct." I said, "Well, what county are you in?" She said, "Cobb, one of our biggest counties."
Yeah.
And she said, "Yeah, we hand count our ballots when we take them out of the machine before we put it in the bag to make sure that we have
that the numbers
all
are matched.
the ballots." It's just that simple.
Yeah.
She was like, "So what's the problem?" And I was like, "Ma'am, you tell me."
Exactly. I would love to know. That's the problem. That's the problem. I don't know the problem.
Yeah, the problem is that you are a MAGA extremist now, and that you've been brought to this side, and you're on the different side from them. That's all.
I know. I'm okay with it.
Because Stacey Abrams would have been fine with this in 2018, right?
I know.
But when we're talking about like going back to 2018, there was the same issues there, and it went against the Democrats.
Absolutely. They were asking us to get rid of the Dominion machines in 2018. In 2016, Hillary Clinton is the one who started all of this. Remember, she's the one who refused to concede the first time. She's the one who said that she believed that the election was stolen. She was the first person to do all of this. But for some reason, Trump gets all of the heat, right? As if he started this. No, it didn't start with him.
Janelle King is our guest on the Morning Extra, and I think a lot of this comes down to power. And to me, it's both sides of the aisle. Now, I don't know how comfortable you are with getting into that, but to me, I think this is about power brokers within the state that are deciding how to divvy up power on a regular basis and keeping it for themselves.
You know what? I don't know if I would explain it like that, but I do agree that it is about power. I do agree that it's on both sides of the aisle. This is not a partisan
100%.
issue. This is absolutely on both sides of the aisle. I mean, we heard a case yesterday from a gentleman who ran as a Republican, and he was in a Republican primary, and during the primary, he had to redo his election twice because of errors in the election process. And this is a Republican primary.
I'm just telling you, things are upside down, and people in Georgia know it, and they want to trust in their system, and right now they do not. And it's so important that we have people like you, Janelle, that care enough to do the right thing. And I applaud you for taking all the arrows, because I know you're taking slings and arrows everywhere.
Yeah, how did you become a bad person overnight?
Yeah.
Just trying to do the right thing. Yeah.
That's what happened.
Even that's
all you have to do is speak up.
You're circling the target, right? Everybody.
When you're over the target, that's when the flag is the hardest.
It's funny because, you know, I mean, I've known you a long time, and I know that you and I kind of went back and forth because I'm like, well, I like Trump. And you're like, listen here.
Right.
And we've had our own private conversations about how you're not liking it. But it is funny because even this Democrat who, you know, is sending me things saying that I don't believe this woman and not a word she says anymore, blah, 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 blah. It is amazing how all of a sudden when you start injecting reality into what happened, I mean, there are things to be said about this election. If you find 3,000 double counted ballots in one county, by the way, in one batch, we haven't gone through all the batches. They never did a forensic audit.
Right.
And you only win by 12,000 votes, and you were up at night, and your Secretary of State says, this is a done deal. It doesn't matter if he gets 100% of the votes coming in. Joe Biden can't win Georgia, and all of a sudden we wake up and there are questions to be asked. Yeah. There was fraud in this state. There were problems. You may not agree, or a lot of people may not agree that Donald Trump won this state or this election, or it made a difference. But now that we're uncovering this stuff, now we're trying to protect it. It is a possibility.
You know, I mean, it's always a
Is
possibility.
that weird for you to change your idea on that? Because did you feel differently? I mean, in 2020, you and I and Carlos and Tug, we've all had conversations where it didn't seem like you were agreeing with Donald Trump on the fact that we may have had a lot of problems here.
Yeah, no, it doesn't feel weird. You know, I feel like when you get more information, then you should know more, right? I mean, I think to your point, and even that message coming from the Democrat person, you know, I think the problem we're having is that everybody's so retreated into their corners.
That's right.
And we've been so nasty to each other that in order to come out and say I was wrong will require you to also have to apologize for all of your nastiness. And I don't think people want to do it. So at this point, it's like it's an ego. I'm going to defend my position no matter what because I don't want to be wrong. And I'm not that person. I'm okay with being wrong. I feel like great leaders know when they're wrong.
100%.
So if I didn't have all the information before, that was my perspective. Now that I have more information, I'm really looking at this, and I am concerned about our upcoming elections. I'm not as concerned about 2024, but I am concerned.
We'll continue the conversation with Janelle King next on Extra 106.3.
Can we address the elephant in the room?
Yes, yeah. Well, if you'd like, yes. Yeah.
So broke his microphone.
Well,
Yeah,
he did. Yes.
Right in the middle of Janelle answering a question, and she's trying to keep from cracking up. I'm trying to keep him cracking up. And I'm like, did he really rip his microphone off the base?
I want to tell you, this is the second time this morning before you guys got here. He broke it earlier,
I told
too.
you, this is the boys' room.
For the YouTube crowd, when you saw the mic break, he's been holding it the rest of the time. Janelle's trying to keep a straight face. I'm like, okay, this is good.
That should be posted all over social media today from our YouTube channel.
What just happened?
We get that one.
These things are terrible. God, so bad. Anyway, there's so much more with Janelle King as we get to the final segment of the Morning Extra here on Extra 106.3. Please stick around.
Mike, the engineer, says based on the yard signs he's seeing, Kamala will finish third behind Donald Trump in garage sale.
I hope. The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
All right, we got Hurricane Milton. We got Hurricane Helene. We've got a chemical lab that exploded. We've got so many issues in this country, and it's a time for you to look at and say, was I prepared? If this were to happen and we were to have to deal with all this, would I have the things I needed? Would I have freeze-dried food? Would I have water filtration? Would I have firearms to protect my house, my family? Would I have the essentials? Well, there's one place you can get that, and that's True Prep in Marietta on Cobb Parkway, your one-stop shop for emergency preparedness supplies. I wish that you'd step down there today. If you haven't started preparing, I want you to start. I want you to go talk to the experts at True Prep. First of all, they're locally owned and operated by Matt and Joey, both Georgia Tech graduates, both engineers. They understand exactly what you need and can get you set up right away. Go down there, talk to them. Find the Harvest Right freeze dryer. Start freeze drying your own food. It's great for camping trips. It's great for your leftovers. You'll be able to keep that food, non-perishable items, for over 30 years. I mean, how great does that sound? But if you don't want to do that, they also have prepackaged stuff ready to go. They also have workshops. All you have to do is go to their website, trueprep.com. You'll find workshops like Intro to Emergency Preparedness, your Get Out bag or your Bug Out bag, and how to set it up, or even an AR-15 care and maintenance program to make sure that you're keeping those safe. Listen, start preparing today. It's not a joke. It's not about doomsday. It's about everyday events that you're not prepared for. Head over to Marietta on Cobb Parkway or online at trueprep.com. That's TRUprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
Hi, this is Ben.
And I'm Walt from Horizon Background Screening. There are two ways that we generally help businesses. First, as they're going through the hiring process with people, help them to find the criminal history. If somebody's on the sex offender registry, needless to say, most companies need to screen those people out. If they're going to be driving a vehicle, if they're going to be in people's houses, we need to make sure that we understand what their history is to protect your company and to protect your clients, but also to protect your employees.
Our pre-employment background checks, FCRA compliant. We're going to make sure you stay good with the EEOC, all those kind of things. Our PI stuff is going to be a little bit different different. We can dig a little bit deeper. We have different avenues, and we can get into kind of the weeds of things, which on those kind of cases we want to do. 25 plus years, we've just been blessed with growth and have basically become a nationwide provider of both pre-employment background checks and private investigative services.
The best way for people to find us is on our website. A quick Google search of Horizon Background Screening, or look at us at horizonscreening.com.
Oh man, look at my backyard. Looks like a tornado met a hurricane in a desert. I'm going to tell her to turf off. Or maybe you'd rather turf on with ATL Turf Co., the Southeast leading turf installer. Whether you'd like a new football field, putting green, or have us create the perfect maintenance-free backyard of your dreams, find ATLTurfCo.com. Make your yard great again. Visit ATLTurfCo.com and see what we've created for customers like you in the Southeast. ATLTurfCo.com. And no more yard cackling.
If you notice any cracks in your foundation, they're not going to go away. They need to be addressed as soon as possible to reduce additional costs that come with repair. Ramjack is the best company in the industry for repairing your foundation. We have the highest quality products in the nation. So, if you are experiencing foundation problems, please contact us at ramjack.com/Atlanta or call us at 770-502-8881. That's 770-502-8881.
Are you planning for your big day? Are you picking out the venue, the cake, the menu, the dress, the tux? And you can't forget about those wedding bands. Well, you're in luck because Wedding Band Weekend is back at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. October 25th through the 27th is the best time to save big on those wedding bands that you'll say I do with. During Wedding Band Weekend at Solomon Brothers Jewelers, when you buy her band, you get his for free. And to make your purchase even easier, we're offering 60 months interest-free financing on all of the top wedding band designers in the industry. That's 5 years to not worry about paying for those beautiful rings that symbolize your commitment. And remember, no matter the price, you'll find something nice. So come visit us October 25th through the 27th to shop for your wedding bands in Buckhead on Peachtree Road, Alpharetta Old Milton Parkway, and Sharpsburg on Highway 34 and Fisher Road, or online at SolomonBrothers.com.
Election coverage is more than polls and numbers. It's about what matters in your life and your community. And Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station cares about your community, your voice, and most importantly, your vote. So keep it all here for the latest and download the Extra 1063 app and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice.
Doug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra with our guest Janelle King. She's in discussing the challenges of the state election board, and there's so many of them. And Janelle, that's the thing that I don't think most people realize is the fight that you're having to put in. And you're such a kind person by nature, and you're having to really turn into a bulldog on this.
Oh man, I'm having to show people a side of me that I didn't think I would show. You know, I mean, it's always there, but I just keep it calm.
Do you get nervous around some of the? I mean, I know that these are open to the public at times. We saw, things of people throwing ping pong balls in certain arenas, and they come down there, they protest. Is it scary sometimes to be down there with some of the people, or is everybody pretty calm?
No, not to me. I mean, we have the state trooper, the Capitol Police are there, and they are phenomenal. Okay, shout out to the Capitol Police. They're always like, what do you need? Is everything okay?
That's great.
So I feel fine. I feel safe. I'm able to park closer to the building, so everything's great. I think that, I enjoy it. I think for me, I feel like I'm participating in America. I mean, this is how our country was formed. If you think there wasn't a lot of debate and back and forth and arguing.
Oh my gosh.
That's how this country was formed.
Let me ask you about this. And Janelle King's our guest on the Morning Extra. It's one thing when you're issuing opinions. You deal with that on the show on a regular basis, whether you've done television, radio, podcasting. But when you're actually sitting in a place of power, the attacks are different. What has it been different, especially when you're dealing with the AJC and other people out there?
I feel like the difference is that it's a bigger platform. And I more than anything else, I can confidently say that I feel like we have a lot of propagandists in our journalism. It is, I know propaganda has been around for God knows how long, right? But it is becoming extremely obvious. When I have people saying things or writing things that was absolutely inaccurate and they were sitting in the room, that's when it becomes scary, right? But I just found out though that the AP, there's a woman who sits there that writes for the Associated Press, and apparently that article was really good. And I just got a text message, so I can't wait to read it. But they were like, she accurately explained what happened, and that's all I want. That's all I want.
But with the media being 96% left, and by and large, it is all left. There's different degrees of how left they are, for sure. MSNBC, way left. I would think CBS, ABC, CNN are left, but not quite that far. Has that opened your eyes to the fact that this is affecting real Americans every day? Because it's easy to say, man, they're leftists, they say things. Right. But when you see it in action, I would imagine that it becomes such a spotlight on it.
Oh, my God. I have this righteous indignation inside of me. And I only can say it comes from God, because it is just this love for the people. And what I am seeing is truth, yes. And what I'm seeing is extremely disheartening. The media, as voters, we don't, and as people, we don't have enough to have to worry about, right? I mean, I sit sometimes and I'm sitting in bed and I'm laying there and I'm thinking about it, I'm reading articles, and I'm realizing that this is going to confuse a lot of people. I'm reading comments from folk who are telling me things that is just completely inaccurate, and they're demanding, and they're telling me what I'm thinking. They're like, you're doing this, you're working for Trump, you're doing all these things, and they've never met me. And I'm like, where does your mind have to be?
Well, they're
when
told.
You can read
That's
something,
what they're told.
but then it becomes fact in your mind. It's like you don't separate. I just read this. This is hearsay.
See, this is different because, for instance, like Rhino has the MAGA attire. He's got the hat. He's got everything else. Okay, like he's all on board, all in.
MAGA Rhino.
When it comes to like myself, like I'm incredibly critical of Operation Warp Speed in 2020, and while I will still vote for Donald Trump, I don't consider myself MAGA in any way. But what it's become the catch-all that if I can just call you that, then it allows me to say anything I want about you.
Right.
And so that becomes the thing. It's like, oh, look, Janelle King, she's all MAGA now, so now I can say whatever I want to about her.
That's the propaganda, because they, and as of listeners, as people, particularly those who are listening who is not a Republican or don't consider themselves to be Republican, you need to pay attention to that. They think that all they have to do is put a label on us, and then now they can control you and your thoughts. And that is where the problem lies. That being said, I totally agree with you. It's funny. Kelvin says, he said, I'm MAGA. I'm Reagan MAGA. He's like,
I go back a little further than Reagan.
I'm a Republican. I'm just a Republican.
But the reality of it is this: it doesn't even matter if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat. Look at Mayor Adams. Look how quick they turn on people, and how anybody who speaks against them. RFK Jr. Look at the way he's been out. Tulsi Gabbard. Look at what they are now. This is the playbook of somebody who believes in Marxism or communism. This is what they do all the time. And I understand it. It's easy to turn everybody against you if you call them the worst person ever and make up lies about everything about them.
But it's dehumanizing. And that's the whole point, right? Because if you dehumanize someone, then you can say anything about them and there's no pushback. There's no blowback. And that's what it seems like that's the goal.
Well, I mean, I thought at one point MAGA extremists were supposed to be people who they considered to be white supremacists and the most racist of all. And I'm just like, how did I get lumped into all of that?
I'm telling you.
I'm like, even if it's true, how is it me?
Every time I go to our sister station, there's one guy who always writes into management, that MAGA bigot. I'm like, hold on a second.
I know, you're a MAGA
I was like, how did I suddenly lose my minority status because I'm on this radio station?
I mean, but look, you get somebody like Tim Scott who says something like against Janet Yellen and what she said about black communities and why they need abortion. And then what's he? He's Uncle Tom. He's this. I mean, the names. I've heard some of the worst names out of the left about what they call, anybody who doesn't agree or fall in line with Kamala Harris and the Democrat socialists.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I'll be whatever. I'll be whatever you want me to
Call
be.
me anything. I want to be right. I want to be truth.
As long as I know I can sleep at night because I'm doing what's right and I'm telling the truth, whatever.
Final thoughts here before we wrap up. What do folks need to know about what's happening in the state elections board, what's coming next, and what's something you want people to just understand?
Right now, our focus is on the monitoring team for Fulton County, making sure that they have a monitoring team that people can trust. And I don't see us passing any new rules before November's election. That being said, when it comes to the rules that were passed, they are very, very simple to follow. And I know that there should be something coming out soon that's going to show exactly how easy it is. And then lastly, to voters, vote early. And if you are in one of those areas that have been hit by Hurricane Helene, first of all, our prayers and thoughts go out to you. Of
course.
But please pay attention to the rules, the instructions that's coming from our election offices as it relates to how to vote.
So important to be involved. I've been on my son's case about getting his absentee ballot filled, and he's he's playing ball and he's in college and running every which way, and I'm like, I don't care. Stop
Send
down.
it immediately,
5 minutes.
please, with the absentee ballot.
Send
it in
5
immediately.
minutes and get it done. Absolutely right.
You ready to come to Trump rallies with me?
You know what? I told somebody the other day, I'm not going to do any Trump events because I don't want to further.
They would just put fuel on the fire.
That's it, and I
But
can't
you're
do
the
that.
pit bull. You're Donald Trump's pit bull.
Why can't I be a Rhodesian?
Yeah, right.
There's so much. Oh, I love Rhodesian Ridgebacks.
Yeah, those things are so cool.
That's my Bailey.
Yeah, that's what y'all have. That's exactly right. So cool. All right, Janelle, thank you so much. Make sure you listen to the Janelle Show this weekend, Saturday and Sunday here on Extra 106.3. Keep up with her. I am_J King is her Twitter handle. Find her there and follow her there, and I advise you to do that. Please follow her. That way you know what the truth is, because she's going to give it to you. So for Janelle, Rhino, and front office Lowe's, don't forget about Board Op Goey Virgin River. My name is Tug. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Hey, it's Flounder, and the Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m.
Free speech is like a pressure cooker and the valves on the pressure cooker. If you start shutting off all the places that the valves are, guess what happens?
Well, that's why we have the other amendment, like the second one, so we can keep our guns. I mean, seriously, that's what they do when they shut you up and then try to get your guns, and they'll never get to stage 2.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.